Okay, we are back. It is a couple days since my last post there in the video, so when this is edited up, it's going to flow seamlessly. I received my Imperial Guard Astra Militarum Codex a couple days early, so kudos on Canada Post for getting it out to us. There is tons of new stuff for Crusade narrative battles in here, so I'm probably going to be inputting that in possibly a future Crusade. I am, however, going to use some of the very awesome new requisitioning capabilities in here for my current Crusade. There's tons of new commendations and things that it's just too far along, I think, to be able to do it, which was a bit of a worry of mine. Beautiful book, though. I don't really collect Death Corps of Krieg, but I might start because there's some very, very cool models on the sprue. Might do another video on that another day, but their artillery piece too is beautiful. So more to come with that, but some of the new rules aren't going to work. I'm just too far along in this Crusade. But there's some new, as I stated, requisitions and stuff that I might be using, so that's gonna be pretty cool. So we're gonna get this one started. This is the very first roll of the battle. This is going to be having what wave of orcs is coming out. I thought about this too for a little while. I'm going to pull an audible here. So I was going to originally do 7 turns. It's actually going to be less turns, but there's going to be multiple waves. So I wanted to make it as fair as I could for the Orks and for the Cadian to have a good scrap, because the way I had it set up, I was thinking the Orks probably wouldn't have a very good chance of taking out the entire Cadian army, and that's going to be their victory indicator. So what's going to happen here is there's still going to be the D6 roll. So if it's a 1 or 2, it's going to be Zodgrod, 3 or 4 is Gaskell, and then 5, 6 is the War Boss in Mega Armor. So that's going to be a wave that comes out. That wave is going to have 2 turns each. So there'll be 2 Cadian turns, 2 Orc turns to be 1 wave. And that's going to happen 3 times. And then the final wave is going to be the 7th kind of turn of the game, which is going to have 1 or 2 more turns for Cadian and then 1 or 2 more turns for Orc, just to see where that is at that point. I'm trying to also limit this going like 3 or 4 hours, because a battle this size could last a very, very long time. I'm also not going to be rolling as often on camera, so I'm going to be doing a lot more recap, because if I'm rolling every single roll here, it's going to just be way, way too long with the amount of models. I'm also going to be breaking the rolls into segments, so it's still going to be Cadian, but I'll start with this chunk here first on this wargaming board, and then I'll move over to the next one to make sure that I'm firing with everybody, that I'm tracking all of their experience points, kill tally, all that kind of stuff. So we will move along as we go, but here's the very first roll of the game. I don't think I'm going to audible it again, but I'm probably going to be shooting this again over a few days, so I might make another change. But as of now, it's going to be 3 waves, so 2 turns each for each side, and then a 4th final wave, which will probably be the 7th and 8th, or 7th turn in total. So here we go. This is who is coming out for the Orcs, and I'll pan over to that in just a sec to show you guys. So nice green dice. We have a 2. So the first force coming out on the board, it's going to be like a Mad Max insane vehicle attack here. We have Zodgrod Wartsnaga with the Weird Boy, and this entire group is going to be coming out for that first turn. So I'm going to place them, and then we're going to get into this game, and it goes right back to Cadian because they have been watching the hills. They've got their observation posts out there, their binoculars out, and they're saying, holy shit, the Orcs are coming over the hill. Let's get ready. And it's going to be over to the Cadian as soon as these are all placed. So here we go. Okay, here we go. Wave 1 has begun. The Orcs are on the board. There is a battle wagon here, a truck here. We got our Squighog boys there. On the other side, we have our Warbikers. We have another battle wagon and a 3rd battle wagon. So you're asking, where are the Beastnaga boys and their knob and Zodgrod and the Weird Boy? I have just placed them over here to make sure that I'm tracking. So I've created a little sheet here just showing who's in each vehicle. So we have Zodgrod and the Weird Boy in the truck. We have the open battle wagon with 10 Beastnaga boys in it, and then the battle wagon with the roller with the rest of the 10 in. So they're going to hop out. I've placed the Orc models 12 inches away from the Cadian lines. So it's going to be Cadian turn first. It's going to be a lot of firepower coming on them. The Orks do have a high toughness, but we will see what they can do. And this is kind of the best Ork strategy in this regard, is load them up in trucks that have a very high toughness and lots of wounds, run them right into the base and have them hop out and just start hacking and chopping into my Imperial Guard. So we're going to see how this goes. We're going to start rolling here in the tray. Cadian go first, then it's going to go back to Ork for this wave, then Cadian, then Ork. Then this wave is going to be removed unless it's killed before that. And there will be a fresh wave out here that will be out for an additional 2 turns. And then the last wave will be out for an additional 2 turns. And then every single surviving Ork model will be on here for the last wave. So it's going to be a really, really good battle. Again, going to be rolling off camera because it's way too many things to record. It would be probably hours of dice rolling alone. Tons of troops here. Can't wait to see how the Cadian do. They are currently undefeated, but this is going to be a very tall order for them to fill, and we will see how they do. Go Cadia! Okay, so I decided to shoot with this entire side of Cadian here towards the Orks that are rushing in their trucks, and actually a very good round by my Cadian. Tanks did great too. The start here, I'm going to go to the other side there in just a second, do the rolls, but the Ogryn fired into the Squig Hug boys, and nothing happened there. The Commissar is out of range. The infantry unit here opened up, also nothing done. However, in here, the Khazarkin did fantastic with what weapons they had in range, as well as the Cadian section here. They were able to do 1 damage, and then a lot of the wounds came from the Hellhound on the truck. So the truck is currently down to 2 wounds from its original wound count, which is making Zodgrod and the Weird Boy have quite a rough ride. And then over here, the last Khazarkin section opened up, as well as the Rogel Dorn with the double cannons, and fired into the truck here. It's actually a battle wagon, and was able to wound it as well. So that's it for the Cadian. Their orders have all been issued. The cover is there as well, so it was very good to have Leontis in there giving orders to the 2 Khazarkin as well as the Cadian unit, because they had to take aim, so their 3+ ballistic skill became a 2+, and they were able to make a lot of hits with everything that was in range. So I'm going to be going over to the other side here in just a sec. Still have to fire all my artillery pieces and everyone over on this wall, as well as my Reaver Marines and snipers, whoever's in range, and they're going to be firing at this attack force of Orks coming in on this side. After that shoot, I will come back and show you guys what's happened. I'm going to roll that all off camera to make this go as quick as possible, and we'll see what kind of casualties the Orks have, and then it is their move, and I'm thinking there's going to be some Orks in the facility very quickly, so let's see how that goes. Alright, so that concludes the Allied Cadian turn 1. Very good round, and some vehicles that have not fired for me all Crusade have started. I'm just going to show you guys the plasma cannon that's attached to the Armored Sentinel finally did some damage. It got some great rolls, and it took some wounds off of the truck here. I keep calling them trucks, but they're not. They're like a war wagon or whatever. So it did do some damage there. The other damage that was given to it came from the Hellhound's heavy bolter, and then the Chimera actually as well. Over on this side, the infantry section here fired into the Warbikers, didn't do anything, but the Rogel Dorn fired all of its weapons into the Warbikers, and they are gone. So that is a point for the Rogel Dorn. It's a kill point. So that is it for the first turn for the Allied Cadian models. My Bombast field guns too, they rolled actually quite well, got some really good stuff, but they weren't able to wound. The rolls just weren't there for that. Oh, and one of the civilians up on top of the oil tower here also fired, but nothing happened. I've given them, like, if you guys remember Cadian White Shield stats, I still have some old like books and cards for the Cadian White Shield, so that's the statistics they have. They're not very good at shooting, but you never know. They might come in handy when the Orks start to invade the facility. So this is moving back over to the Orks now. It is going to be their move. The Squig Hug boys are still looking healthy. The truck's kind of limping along with 2 wounds left, and then the battle wagon here, as well as these 2 other battle wagons, are going to be running right towards that Cadian line, dropping off some Beast Snagga boys, and then also using their weapons to fire in. So there's definitely going to be some Cadian casualties, but we do have the hospital. So when I start rolling for hospital models at the end of this wave, I definitely will get those on the dice tray just to record those. But a lot of the rolling, as I've stated, for shoot and for hand-to-hand is all going to be done off camera, and then I'll come back and show you guys as the battle moves on and there's some cool dramatic rolls. Like if, you know, Leontis starts taking on Gaskell or something, if that happens, then I'll definitely record the dice rolls for that. But here we go. Good luck, Cadian. Very, very good first round. They did quite well against some very high toughness trucks and battle wagons, and now we're going to get over to the Orks and see what they can do in their first turn. Here we go. Oh, what a cute little model riding his squig there. He's got his long nail, little Gretchen or snotling dude. So the Ork move is done for their first turn, and all hell is kind of broken loose already. So we have the Squighog boys in very, very close proximity to jumping in with those Ogre next turn. The truck pulled in here. It has sort of completed its mission. It's still going to be able to shoot, but with 2 wounds left, it won't be around for much longer. But it has dropped off Zodgrod and the Weird Boy, so they're also very close, and they're going to be able to shoot and do some psychic attacks this turn. The biggest one is here. The Beastnaga boys jumped out of the battle wagon here and moved right into hand-to-hand combat with that center section. They want to get into a scrap right away, and we're going to see during that hand-to-hand how the Cadians fare. Probably not well, but you never know. Maybe the rolls will go on our side. And then over here, the battle wagon pulled in. It's got all of its weapons still to fire on this side of allies here, and then the Beastnaga boys have also hopped out. Luckily the Seacan was there to kind of block any movement, but next turn they're probably going to be in a hand-to-hand. And then over here the last battle wagon moved in, full weapons good to go. This thing has full wounds as well, so we're going to move to the Ork shoot, and it's going to start to I don't know, get a little tricky here for the Cadians. So hopefully they can do all right, and we do have the hospital if worst comes to worst, but I still need to roll to make sure troops are coming back. But yeah, let's see how the Orks do. All right, I was over here, so I finished off the Ork shoot. The battle wagon here fired into the Hellhound and took 2 wounds off of it. There's actually some really good weapons on these trucks, and I've been rolling well once again for the Orks. A lot of 5s, a lot of 6s, which is what they need because their ballistic skill isn't great, but if you're rolling well, it doesn't matter. The battle wagon here, as well as the entire Beastnaga boys, fired in with their sluggas into this Cadian section here, led by Sergeant Saronk. They are already bashed up pretty badly throughout the whole crusade and have a lot of battle scars. They're down to 3 members. And up, I'm using the roof of the hospital for now. It's going to get a lot bigger than that, so I think I'm going to have to put my injured model somewhere. But those are the 7 from Sergeant Saronk's section, and we're going to be rolling for them at the end of this wave. So the Cadian will have another turn after this. The Orks will have another turn, and that is the end of the first wave. And then we're going to see how many of these models are returning. So that's going to be 1 to 2 is they're dead. 3, 4, 5 is they are still in the hospital, and then a 6 they're returned, patched up, and ready to go. So now I'm moving over here to roll on this side for the Orks, and I'll be right back to show you what has happened and how many Cadian have been sent to the hospital. Okay, so not great shoot rolls there from the Orks with that ballistic skill of 5. It's tricky to do anything. The Squighog boys fired into the Ogren and nothing happened there. Zodgrod as well as the Weird Boy also tried to use some attacks. Nothing happened. And then the truck also missed all of its shots with the big Shuda. Over here, the battle wagon fired with both of its big Shudas into the Khazarkin, and luckily again, nothing fired. So we're good to go. I'm now moving over to the hand-to-hand here. Much more worried about that. Beastnaga boys against Cadian infantry, Cadian shock troops. Not the fairest of fights, but we will see how it goes, and maybe the Cadian can fight back here a bit, but most likely they're going to get chopped up. But I'll roll that off camera, come back and show you guys what kind of models are going to the hospital. All right, and that is the Ork strategy manifest. They came in a truck, lots of toughness from the truck, were able to get nice and close, got in a hand-to-hand combat with the Cadian section, 30 attacks from the Beastnaga boys with their choppas, so 3 attacks apiece, 10 models. I believe 22 or 24 made it through, and then about half maybe 15 wounded, and the Cadian were able to save a couple, so there was enough to send that entire section to the hospital. So right now there's going to be no battle scars because that unit is still alive, but if they don't come back, you know, throughout the rest of the battle with the wave, then they are going to get the battle scar. I'm hoping here too for the Cadian that they might be able to rack up a lot of experience points from kills, but we'll see. This first wave has already been pretty crazy. It's moving back over to the Cadian now, so that is the end of the hand-to-hand combat phase, and the Cadian are going to let loose with all their weapons again. I'm hoping to take out more models, get some more experience from that, but we will see. I think it's going to be a hell of a battle. This is only the first turn. Well, second turn coming up now, and only the first wave, so there's still 2 full waves of brand new Ork troops coming in, and then that last wave, whether it's going to be 1 or 2 turns, is going to see every single Ork model that's still alive coming onto the field in one big push. So I'm going to move the Cadian if they're going to move. I'll show you guys if they do any moves. If I decide just to shoot with them again, which I think might be the best strategy, I will roll that off camera, come back, and show you guys how and what Ork models have been killed. But yeah, good turns by both sides so far. It's going to be a very good battle. I think once again super close, but we'll see how this goes. Be right back in a sec. Alright, so Cadian moved for turn 2. They did move back a bit, the Khazarkin as well as Solar Leontis, to just get some range there, to put some firepower on those Beast Snaga boys. They're not looking to go into hand-to-hand combat with them, so that was the plan there. Over here, the Rogaldorn has turned itself around a little bit to put some firepower either down on the Battle Wagon or the Beast Snaga boys. The Khazarkin that were in behind the Seacan have hopped up as well to put all of their weapons onto this Battle Wagon. I'm hoping there's going to be enough firepower here too, maybe with the Raven Guard Eliminators as well as the Librarian, and the Reavers might be in range now too. And we have our Bombast field guns as well that can fire. The Chimera is still in range, so we'll see how it goes here. We might be able to chip some wounds or maybe even take some of these models out. And I think I'll probably do this off camera, but those Reavers are going to move in too, just in case if the Beast Snaga boys break in, they're going to have a lot better chance in hand-to-hand combat than the Cadian will. So I'm going to move to the shoot right now and roll off camera and show you guys on either side what has happened and what Ork models have been killed. Okay, so a really good round by the Cadian there. I'm actually getting some very good rolls this battle, so it's nice to finally have that. The Squighog boys only have the Knob remaining, and he is down to 2 wounds, so they were all killed by the Ogryn with their Ripper guns and the rapid fire ability. The infantry up here, as well as the Hellhound. The Hellhound also fired into the Weird Boy and was able to wound him, I believe, unless he starts with 4, I might be wrong. But the Squighog boys are almost done after that attack. However, these models are going to survive because it's switching back over to the Orks for this next turn, and then the wave ends. Over here as well, the Khazarkin, Lord Solar Leontis, and the Khazarkin with that take aim rule, just amazing to up their ballistic skill from 3 to 2. And they have brought this Beast Snaga Boys section down to 3 models. So a lot were killed there, even with the toughness 5. The special weapons were firing well. The hot shot las guns were good to go too. So that was very good round there. And then we did have the Rogaldorn here with a double battle cannons fire into the battle wagon, and it has reduced it by a couple more wounds as well, so it's down to 8 wounds. I'm switching over to the other side of the battle over there to see how the allies are going to do, and then I'll show you guys the outcome of that shoot, and then it's going to be moving back over to the Orks here very soon, and then that is the end of wave 1. Alright, so that is the end of Cadian turn 2 for wave 1. It's moving back over to the Orks here soon for their move and their shoot and any hand-to-hand. Not a great turn on this side for the Cadian. A lot of misfires, a lot of stuff didn't happen. So the Rogaldorn, as well as anything else that was in range on this side, the 2 Armored Sentinels, and the Chimera fired into the battle wagon, and it lost maybe 1 wound, if any. It's tough trying to remember what happened. There's just so many rolls. The command squad here, as well as Sergeant Sarank's remaining section, fired into the Beast Snaga boys, but nothing was done. The toughness on them is quite good. It's 5, with las guns coming in at 3, and a lot of my weapons didn't fire even Yeah, they have a 4+ with ballistic skill, so it's a little tougher for them. The Reavers are actually behind that C-can, so they can't shoot. They moved over to, you know, hopefully get into combat their next turn, but it looks like the wave is going to be done. The Hellhound as well fired in. It was actually the Hellhound, sorry, that wounded the battle wagon, so it was the heavy flamer that chipped one wound off, and the melta cannon didn't fire. And then over here I had my entire Khazarkan gargoyles fire onto this battle wagon, and nothing happened there. It's down to 14 wounds, so yeah, that's one wound off, so something did happen there. I forget who it was, but maybe, yeah, it was the plasma pistol, I think, from my sergeant here. So she fired into it, didn't supercharge or anything, but just got a good roll and was able to take one wound off the battle wagon. And my bombast field guns in behind there on the left, they didn't fire. So they've got, you know, the capability of doing a lot of damage and a lot of hits, but the 5+ ballistic skill with the heavy 4+ is still very difficult to fire off. So not great. It's moving back over to the Orks here, so I'm going to do their move. Not too many models to move right now, but there's probably going to be some more models in hand-to-hand combat. The Beastnaga boys definitely want the highest trophies. They're probably going to be rushing right into combat there with Lord Solar Leontis. See if you can dispatch them quickly. And down here we do have Zodgrod, the Weird Boy, and the Squig Boy Knob. So we'll see what they do. And the battle wagon over here. So I'm going to move them. I'll come right back, show you guys the quick move, and then we'll get into whatever happens after that. All right, that concludes the Ork turn 2 move in wave 1, and the battle wagon is staring down this Khazarkan squad. It's pissed off because they were shooting at it last time, so he's going to just try to blow them away. Over here, the other battle wagon moved over, and it's going to be putting its fire probably down on the command squad as well as Sergeant Sarank's section with 3 members left. In here is a problem. The Reaver Marines were jumped by the Beastnaga boys who were in range of hand-to-hand combat, so they did 2 inches up the C-can, 2 inches across the C-can, 2 inches out over the C-can, and they're right in hand-to-hand. So the hospital can bring back human models, but they do not have the ability to bring back superhuman models. So if we lose any Raven Guard Space Marines here, they are not able to come back. There will be no extra roll for them. There's no apothecary here. So I'm really hoping that we don't lose that Raven Guard Reaver squad right off the bat. The lieutenant's in there too. So it's going to be one hell of a scrap in there. I'm excited to get that rolling. I'll show you guys what happens there. The Orc shoot will be first, of course, but that's what's going on that side. Over here, the lone knob of the Squig Boys, the last one remaining, as well as Zodgrod, has gone into combat with the Ogryn. That's going to also be a very good scrap. And the Ogryn are pretty good in hand-to-hand combat. They have the Commissar there too, so I'm hoping that they might be able to fight back with a counterattack after that initiative from the Orcs. And the Weird Boy jumped right up on top of the structure here, and he is in hand-to-hand combat with the Preacher and the 10-section squad of Cadian. Yeah, I didn't move these guys. They're definitely going in against Leontis. So there we go. Another hand-to-hand combat fight there. There we go. So Leontis is into it with the remaining Beastnaga boys here. The battle wagon has moved up here to put some fire down on more of the allied models in there. And after this turn for the Orcs, that rounds out wave 1. And we're going to see, so Orc shoot right now. I'm going to roll that off camera, come back, show you guys what's happened to the Cadian from that with the 3 battle wagons on the field. And then we're going to get in a hand-to-hand, and that is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So I'll be right back and show you guys the outcome of the shoot phase. All right, so quick recap here of the shoot on this side. So the battle wagon opened up on the Khazarkan squad. As you can see, none of them were affected because the battle wagon didn't make any of its shots. So that 5+ ballistic skill is working in the Cadian's favor, which is great. This battle wagon, however, did much better, and it killed the remainder of wounded them. We're going to see if they come back. They're going to have their hospital roll, but wounded the remaining 3 that were in Sergeant Sarank's section, and the command squad has survived this first wave. So these 2 are done for this turn. They won't be back until the end of the game, but they have made it to the 4th wave, 7th turn, maybe 8th turn as well. We'll have to see. Now it's coming over here to fire the lone battle wagon weapons into the Khazarkan. I'm going to roll that off, show you guys how many Khazarkan have been lost. Hopefully none. Hopefully it rolls very poorly again, and we get to keep fighting on, and then it'll be hand-to-hand combat right after that. And that is the end to wave 1. The Orks are done. They're shooting in hand-to-hand. The battle wagon was not able to fire at the Kazarkin, so they are still all good to go. The weird boy was up on top of the roof. He was able to kill 1 Cadian, and they did not do anything back to him. Toughness was too high. Down here we have Zodgrod and the Knob. They went in and pretty much devastated the Ogryn. So there's 1 left, the Ogryn commander there with the Commissar. These, like the Space Marines, cannot be brought back in the hospital. They're way too big. Like, these are, 10-foot humanoid creatures that I don't think a normal human would be able to do CPR on or anything like that. So they will not be back in the battle, but there is still 1 left with the Commissar there. Over on this side, not good in hand-to-hand. So the Beastnaga boys, with their 30 attacks, were able to go in and kill all of the Reaver Marines as well as the Reaver Lieutenant. So there's none left. The only Reaver or only Raven Guard left are the Eliminator Snipers and our Librarian. So that's where we stand there. This wave of Orks is going to get pulled out now. We're going to go to the dice tray roll to see who's coming out for the next turn. Then it's back over to the Cadian. Also, this is time for the Cadian to get some food into them, get some water into them, get their ammo all bombed back up, check and make sure that they still have lots of ammo left. We're also going to see who's coming back from the hospital, because there's currently 21 models in there. And of course the Ogryn would make that 23, but they are not able to be revived. So the Cadian are going to be able to react to what I put down for the Ork turn 2, or for wave 2. And I'm going to see where I'll place them, and then the Cadian will be able to react as if, they're seeing them coming over the hills, and by the time they get down here, the Cadian have already adjusted themselves to take on whatever's happening. So I'm going to go to the dice tray now. We're going to roll for those Orks. It's the Cadian downtime right now, so, in their time, 1 or 2 hours of just being able to chill out, get some chewing tobacco in, and get some rations going, get some water, get their ammo all set up. And then it's on to wave number 2 to fight back even more Orks. Hope you guys are enjoying this one so far. It's a blast for me. Really sucks the Raven Guard are gone, because that's, this is the first wave and they're already dead. And that was kind of our support element to be able to move around the base and hopefully fight in hand-to-hand. But we'll see how it goes. I'm going to pull this wave off and we'll get the second one in here. Go to the dice tray and roll for that right now. All right, be right back. Apologies, everybody. I was just cleaning up there the wave and I saw that the Beastnaga boys were still in combat with Lord Solar Leontis, so they fought. Leontis was able to save each one of their attacks, and then he was able to actually bounce back with his sword, and he killed all 3. So he delivered 4 wounds. There was 3 wounds there across the 3 models, and Leontis has got a kill for the battle so far. So now I'm going to go over to the dice tray and roll to see what is coming out in the second wave, but Lord Solar Leontis doing it again. This guy he's pretty great, so yeah, very happy that he was able to kill those Beastnaga boys and even things up a little bit for that final wave way down the line. So here we go. I'm gonna roll and show you guys what Orks are coming out. All right, so here we are for the second wave. We're gonna see what's coming out. We need to roll 3, 4, 5, or 6. If it's a 1 or 2, we're just gonna keep rolling until we get one of those. So here we go. It is a 1. They've already been out. It is a 3. So the next wave of Orks is going to be 3, which means we're going to be seeing Gazkul coming out with a very large army of Ork boys. This is what remains of that first wave. So Zodgrod, Weird Boy, 10 Snagas or Beastnaga boys, the Knob on Squig there. We've got all 3 of the battle wagons. In that last phase, or last wave, if a lot of these Ork boys are still alive after this wave, these can pack in 22 Orks per truck. So you guys saw they just dropped off the 20 there last time. They can get 66 Orks in, and that would also include any of this wave here too. So that final wave is going to be insane. We'll see how many models are left. Just move over and show you guys the kill tally here so far. So this is what was lost in the first wave for the Orks. So they're bikers, the Squighog boys, 10 Beastnaga boys, and the truck. And I'm going to be rolling this in just a sec too, because we're starting the next wave. We have to roll 21 dice to see who's staying in the hospital, who's coming back into the fight, so on and so forth. So I'm going to do that right now, and probably show you guys on camera, and then get this base all set up after the Orks have deployed, and see what the Cadians want to do to face them. Alright, so I usually do this with my dice rolling camera separately, but I'm going to make this a little bit easier on myself for the edit. This is the 21 rolls for the Cadian who are currently in the hospital hoping to come back. So again, 1, 2, the model is dead. They cannot come back. That's the end of them. 3, 4, 5, they're back in the hospital until the end of the second wave. And then if it is a 6, they're back into the fight. So let's hope for a lot of 6s here. Here we go. So how many are dead? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You guys see anything else in there? So we've lost 6 models. They either, their wounds were just too grievous. They couldn't keep the blood flow from coming out of their body. So those Cadian are dead. The 6 cannot come back in. Anyone here that is a 6 is actually going to be coming back to the fight. So I'm going to create another little dice pool over here. So from that, we have 3 models coming back. So I'm going to be bringing back both sergeants and probably a special weapons guy, but that means that there's no battle scars yet for those sections because they're back in. And then all of these models here that rolled 3, 4, and 5 remain in the hospital until the following wave. So that's going to continue to grow. We lost 6 and 3 are back in the fight. So I'm going to place them, and we'll get these Orks out, and then have the Imperial Guard, Cadian, and everybody else line up to fight whoever's coming in. Alright, wave 2 has been set up here. It's going to be over to the Cadian soon, but I just want to show you guys what the Orks have done and what the Cadian have done to respond. So we have Gaskell with Makarian the Pain Boy with 20 boys around him. Over here we have the Rocket Truck Squig Buggy with another 20 boys around it. They're in the wide open this time, so their toughness is going to have to do it. They're not in trucks to ride through. Over here we have another 20 boys with 2 Death Dreads. The Death Dreads can be pretty devastating, but I'm hoping we can take care of them quick with the firepower that I have aimed at them. And then we have a Bubble Chukka over here, which is an artillery piece for the Ork that's going to be firing in. So the Cadian turn is first. On this side here, we have the Khazarkin. They haven't left that Seacan. The Hellhound is aiming towards the Death Dreads. We have the Rogel Dorn aiming at the Death Dread as well. The Chimera is also aiming at the Death Dread. I have the 2 soldiers that came back from the hospital, so Sergeant Saronk and a Melta Gunner with the command squad down in behind the Seacan in case they're needed. Over here we have the 2 Armored Sentinels also aiming towards the Ork boys or the Death Dreads. And then another 10 section of Cadian here to be firing at the boys in hopes that they can take them out. On this side here we have the section that was where were they? I just moved them over. Anyways, they moved in where the Ogrins were and the Commissar. The Ogrin and Commissar have moved up on top of the building with Sergeant Voof, who came back from the hospital as well. One of the 3 that came back into the fight. The Hellhound is here, pointed at the Rocket Truck Squig Buggy. We have 10 Khazarkin, 10 Khazarkin. Leontis able to dish out those orders. The 2 oil camp servitors, Ogrin servitors in behind. They're ready to give hand-to-hand combat help if needed. They could also maybe hop over and try to help out the Rogel Dorn if Gaskell gets over here. It's going to be very interesting to see if these Orks can survive the firepower that's coming at them from 12 inches out. They have a very good chance of tearing apart a lot more Cadian. And then over here we have Gaskell staring down the Rogel Dorn, which is what he would do. He wants to tear that thing apart. And then from the other angle, we have the Rogel Dorn staring down Gaskell. So that's going to be something too. We'll see. Gaskell's a very good model. I think he's been downgraded a little bit in 10th edition. He was stronger in 9th, but we'll see how he does. The civilian models here, the oil rig workers, have been dropped in where the Reavers were as kind of a quick reaction force. In case anything starts to spill through, they can kind of respond. We still have the Librarian on the 2nd level of the tower. The Eliminator's up on top with a great vantage point to be able to fire down on either side. So we're going to get this one going here. I'm going to move back over to the Cadian for some movement if it's needed, and then they're shooting. Roll that off camera, come back, show you guys how many Orks have been slain. I'm hoping a lot. This is a very, very large wave. It's 60 boys with Gaskell, the Rucka Truck and Def Dreads, but since they're out in the open, not in trucks, if we can dwindle these numbers down so they're not there in the final wave inside trucks, that would be really great. So Cadian shoot, and then I'll be right back. All right, so the Cadian from this side have completed their shoot phase. Not too bad. The Orks are completely in the open, so I was definitely expecting some wounds on their behalf. So the section here, as well as the Ogren and the Sergeant, were all in range. A few of the models in here were not, but they were able to take out 1, 2, 3 models from this section of Orks. Over here, the Rucka Truck Squig Buggy actually took some pretty good damage. That was from the Hellhound here, so the heavy flamer's out of range, but the Melta Cannon was able to strip 5 wounds off, so a very good roll by the Hellhound. The Kazarkin here, a lot of those weapons as well, not in range, like the Melta, the Hotshot Las pistol. They fired into the Orc squad here, nothing happened. The Hotshot Las guns just didn't do their thing. Leontis was not in range, so he wasn't able to use Saul's Righteous Gaze, which is his pistol. And then the Kazarkin here, my Sharkar's own, fired into these Orcs, and they were able to kill 2. And then my Rogaldorn fired into Gazkull and actually had him almost dead, but the Pain Boy there allows Gazkull to have a 5+ feel no pain, so he was able to save himself from 2 wounds that would have brought him down to 4 wounds, and then the rest of the weapon systems opened up on Gazkull from the Rogaldorn with the double battle cannons there, and it did strip 4 wounds, so Gazkull's down to 6. And then these Orcs were not touched as there was no more weapon systems from the Cadian on this side. So now I'm flipping over to this side of the battle here. The Cadian are still going to be shooting. I'm going to do that all off camera, as well as my Raven Guard snipers, and we will see what kind of casualties the Orcs face from that. So I'll be right back. I'm going to roll, and then I'll show you guys what's happened. All right, so this side has done their shoot phase. Another very, very good round for the Cadian. It sucks because the Eliminators actually got the kills for this Orc Boy squad that was here, so that's not going to count as any experience towards my Cadian, but at least those models are off the board. I'm going to try to recap everything here. So the infantry section here fired into the Orc Boys, and they were able to kill 5, which is fantastic. That was also the Primaris Psyker with her Witchfire, which helped out a bunch. My Armored Sentinels, I was really hoping we were turning it around there in the first shoot phase of the game, but they both were not firing this time, and with 1 weapon system each, kind of meh. There's new requisitions actually where you can remove a model and bring something in, so I'm going to look at that a little closer. Maybe I'll use that for this campaign because it's not throwing out a whole bunch of other stuff that we've worked on. The real all-star here is actually the Rogaldorn Fury. This thing's already been marked for greatness once, and it's softened up the Def Dread that was right here to the right of the remaining one. It brought the Def Dread down from 9 wounds to 1 wound, or 8 wounds to 1 wound, and then it was actually the Hellhound that got the final kill, which has also been marked for greatness, so that's another kill tally for a unit kill by the Hellhound imp. In here, the Chimera tried to fire, just not enough strength with that multi-laser. The heavy bolter was, or the heavy flamer is out of range. My command squad is just hiding back there for now because they don't want to get decimated, so they're taking cover. And then my Kazarkin here were able to weaken the squad that was here of Orcs, and then as I said earlier, the Raven Guard Eliminators up on the drill rig were able to kill them. My Bombast field guns too, my field ordnance battery, these things have D6 each, and they both rolled horribly when it came to the hit roll. Even with the heavy, it adds 1 ballistic skill, so it goes from a 5+ to a 4+. They still weren't able to do anything. But overall, pretty good turn by the Cadian. It's now moving back over to the Orcs for their move, so I'm going to show you guys what they do as a movement turn. And then they have terrible ballistic skill, the Orcs, but they can definitely shoot. So if my Cadian aren't in cover, then they're going to be taking a lot of hail from their sluggas. So I'm going to go do that right now. I'll move the Orcs and come right back and show you guys where they're all at. All right, so the Orks have finished their move phase. The boys ran up. They're going to start firing off with their sluggas. The Orks don't have very good ballistic skill, but they love to hear loud guns fire, so that's what they're going to be doing. Gaskell, very slow, 5-inch movement, so he moved up there. Still got the Pain Boy and Makari with him. I'm hoping he's going to be able to take another onslaught from that tank, because if he does get into hand-to-hand with it, he might actually tear it apart, so we'll see how that goes. He also has a very high firing weapon as well, so we'll see how that does. I don't think it's got the best strength, but we'll rule that off in a sec. And then these boys here moved up their 6 inches. The Ruckatruck Squig Buggy is the fastest model on the board. It moved up 12 inches and it is staring down that Cadian section, and it's got also some pretty good attacks, so that section might be in trouble. Move over to this side now, because this is where we're going to be starting off the shoot phase for the Orks. We have the remaining 5 boys here that moved up a little bit closer to put some fire down on the Cadian here if they're in range. If not, they'll fire at some armored sentinels. Why not? And then over here we have the Death Dread, who's moved in a little bit closer. If this thing can also survive the onslaught from the Hellhound and the Chimera and the Rogel Dorn, it can also tear a tank apart with its big claws there, so we'll see how that goes. And then this thing here, very tricky little model. So this is a Ork artillery piece. It's a mech gun, and it is going to be firing bubble chuckas, and one of them actually has a strength 12. So if that lands on anything that's in the base, whether it be human or a tank or a space marine, it can do some extreme damage. So I'm going to be rolling on this side first. So we got the bubble chucka, we got the Death Dread, and we got the 5 boys, and then I'm going to flip it over to the other side there, but we'll do the shoots on this side first. I'll come back, show you guys what's happened, how many Cadian were killed. Hopefully not too many, because we are rooting for the Cadian here. If you're an Ork player, I'm sorry, but we're rooting for the Cadian for the Crusade. But we'll see how this turn goes, and yeah, it should be good. I don't think there'll be any hand-to-hand combat in this turn, but maybe next turn, and then it's going to get really interesting because we know what the Orks can do. You saw them completely shred that Reaver Raven Guard squad that was in here. So off to shoot. I'll be right back, and I will show you from this side what has happened and how many the Orks have killed. Alright, so that could have gone a lot worse for the Cadian. These 5 Orks were in range. They fired into this Cadian section here. 1 soldier was killed. He's in the hospital, so he's not killed yet. The Death Dread put all of its firepower onto the Khazarkan squad, and it actually did not roll high enough, so that ballistic skill of 5+ affected the Dreadnought. Now it's going to have to withstand some pretty big fire here next turn. Over here, this is what could have been pretty bad. The Bubble Chucka gun, it runs off of a D6 roll, and I got the Dense Bubble, which is the strength 12. It dropped into the Khazarkan here, and it actually killed 4 of them. So it still did some damage, but they're still kicking there. There's 6 of them left, and they are going to be able to put some firepower maybe back on the Bubble Chucka this turn. We'll have to see. I'm going to flip over to the other side of the battle here and get the rest of those Orks firing, and we're going to see what happens to the Cadian. Alright, so that is the end of Ork turn 1 during wave 2. Gaskell put all of the rounds he could into the Rogel Dorn. Nothing happened. He's got that 5+ ballistic skill as well, even with Mork's Roar. To show you guys this gun for a sec, it's like 4 Gatling guns attached. It's hilarious, but that's Gaskell for you. These 10 boys also fired with their sluggas. They did make some shots, but at strength 4 against toughness 12, didn't do anything. These Ork boys here fired into the Khazarkan. Nothing happened there. These Ork boys fired into the Khazarkan Tigers, and actually 2 troops were killed there, so they're in the hospital, not dead. I keep saying they're killed, but they're not. They have a chance to come back. And then over here, we had this group of Ork boys and the Ruckatruck Squig Buggy fire into this section of Cadian here, led by Sergeant Apone, and they lost 5 troops that are going to be in the hospital, hoping they can come back at the end of the turn, at the end of the wave. So now it's going back over to the Cadian for turn 2, so it's going to be their move. I don't think I'm going to be moving them very much. They're probably going to be putting the same kind of rounds down on the Orks. I am going to start on this side for the Cadian to fire into the Ork line and see. With these Orks out in the open, I think a few of them are probably going to die, but they do have that 5 toughness, so we'll see. And then on this side, there's hardly any Ork models left, so the Cadian might actually have a very good chance of wiping out this side here and then not facing them in that final 4th wave. So I'm going to go over to the Cadian shoot, roll it off camera, come back, and show you how many Orks have been slain. All right, so one of the best rounds ever, I would say, by my Cadian during this crusade for their shoot. To start it off, the Rogel Dorn with the double battle cannons here fired everything it had into Gaskell. Gaskell would have been killed, but once again, the Pain Boy gave him the 5+ feel no pain rule, so he has gone from 6 wounds down to 3, but Gaskell is still alive, and he will be fighting until the end of this battle, so he'll be included in the final wave. The Orc boys here were untouched because there was no firepower on this side, and the Rogel Dorn was completely spent on Gaskell. Over here, however, woof, the full, I think there was 9 boys here previous, were torn apart by the Khazark and Sharkar's own, so there is the Knob remaining with 1 wound. This is going back over to the Orcs, so he will also be in that final wave. Over here, the Khazark and Tigers also kind of shredded this Orc unit here, and they're down to 3. The Knob still has 2 full wounds there, so they'll be there at the end of the battle. Over here, fantastic, my remaining infantry section fired into the boys that were beside the Ruckatruck Squig Buggy and wounded the section pretty badly for the Orcs, and it was actually my Ogren that finished them off, so that is the very first experience points for the Ogren. They had a really rough go there. I brought them in as kind of the only hand-to-hand combat strength with multiple wounds, so they've already lost 2 in this fight, but the Ripper gun was able to kill the remaining Orc boys. The Ruckatruck Squig Buggy also faced the Hellhound here, and it is down to 3 wounds. So it's also going to be there at the end of the battle. They are going to be able to shoot now, so all these remaining Orcs are going to shoot. I'm going to start on this side, or they'll be moving and getting into hand-to-hand combat, which they love to do if they're in range, but all of the Orc models currently on the board will be included in the final round. That's here. I have to go over to the other side, actually, sorry, and do the rest of the Cadian over here, as well as my Space Marines that are remaining, and we'll see what kind of Orcs are left here. But yeah, Cadian shoot still, sorry, for this side, and then we're going to move back over to the Orcs, but all of the Orcs on this side, unless I change up my strategy with the Cadian, are going to survive on to the final wave of the battle. All right, so the Cadian on this side did not fare as well as the other. They did some damage. For instance, this section here, Sergeant Dakota, still the only guy without a battle scar, led by the Primaris Psyker there. These guys are still going. They've reduced this Orc section down to 2. The Knob is still alive, and then one of the boys. I don't think they're in range either to get in hand-to-hand, so it's probably going to be those Sluggas firing in. These 2 Armored Sentinels, again, starting to let me down this turn. Tried to finish off these 2, and it did not work. They didn't fire. The craziest thing was the Rogel Dorn fired every single weapon system. I actually got really good rolls, but the toughness of this Death Dread being 9, nothing happened to it this turn. So it still has 8 wounds. I think it's in range of that Hellhound too, so that's not going to be pretty if it gets into hand-to-hand, if it rolls well. And this Death Dread will be in the final wave of the game, as this is going back to the Orcs next turn for the final wave of the game. The Khazarkin here also fired into it. Nothing happened. The Raven Guard Eliminators and the Librarian also fired into it, and nothing happened. So this thing just won't go away. This might be a pain in the butt here. We'll see how it does in that final wave. It's moving back over to the Orcs here for their move, so I'm going to start on this side. On this side, we still have the Bubble Chukka, which is capable of doing some pretty crazy damage. We have the Death Dread. We have the 2 boys, so I'm going to move them right now, and then we'll recap all that. I might move the other side too, just get that done, and then we'll move to the shoot and any hand-to-hand combat, and I'll be right back. Okay, so luckily for the Cadian and allied models here, the Orcs are out of range of hand-to-hand. I should have loaded these Orcs up in trucks. That first wave did very well because they were dropped right off in high-toughness vehicles. This one got torn apart pretty easily as they were in open field, but there's still quite a few of them left. So I was really hoping Gaskell was in range of the Rogel Dorn, but he is not. They are going to shoot, though. They're definitely in range for that, and we're going to see how that goes. There might actually be some Cadian models that will be killed over here just from that. Ruckatruck Squig Buggy has a lot of rounds in it, too. And then over here, which is where I'm going to start rolling for the shoot, the 2 boys here were able to move up, so they're going to put some Slugga rounds down on the Cadian section led by Sergeant Dakota. And then over here is the scary part. So the Death Dread is in hand-to-hand combat with the Hellhound. That's going to happen after the shoot, but this thing is very strong in hand-to-hand combat, and it might be wounding that Hellhound quite a bit. Of course, vehicles can't go to the hospital. We don't have a tech priest here to take care of the vehicles, so as they're losing wounds, they're not going to be able to regenerate it. So the Orks are going to be attacking them whenever they can. So we'll see how that goes. And then over here, the Bubble Chukka did not move, and it's also going to be firing. So I'm going to do the Ork shoot phase over here, just a few models to roll, see what happens to the Cadian. I'll recap that here, and then I'll go back to the other side and see what's going on over there. Okay, so I just decided to do the hand-to-hand combat here too on this side as well as the shoot. I'm still in disbelief. I wanted you guys to see this. I haven't moved those dice. I rolled 4 1s for my Chimera against the Death Dread, and the Death Dread has 3 attacks per wound. So that is 3, 6, 9, 12 to 9 wounds. My Hellhound has been destroyed by the Death Dread. So that's my Marked for Greatness tank. It's done super well in the Crusade so far, and the Death Dread, as I said, turned it into just a tin can and used its tin can opener claws to just rip it apart. The rest of the turn went okay for the Cadian. The Bubble Chukka didn't fire, so I got the Dense Bubble again, but the Ballistic Skill didn't allow it. If it had landed on my Khazarkin, probably would have lost more models that turn. And the Ork boys did fire, but their Slugga was not able to wound the Cadian. So we have Sergeant Dakota with almost a full section still. He's got 9 guys. So that is the end of the Orks on this side. I'm going to be flipping over to the other side where they have a lot more Sluggas and firepower. So we're going to see what happens to the Cadian over there. I'm just going to reset myself. But once again, I can't believe it, 4 1s. So not just Snake Eyes, that's like not half a spider's eyes. It's crazy, but hey, I still have lots of tanks. Hopefully they're going to be able to hold off this 3rd wave that's coming in here soon, and that 3rd wave is also going to see the commandos appear in the battle here. So after this, I'm going to do the shoots. I'll get that all set up, and we're going to come back and keep rolling with this battle. Really hope you guys are enjoying. It's a blast so far. I love my Cadian, but playing as Orks is always super fun because just crazy shit happens all the time, like what we just saw with the Death Dread. And Gazkul, I don't know if he's going to die this battle. Like, he's been blasted by that Rogel Dorn twice, and he's still going. So we're going to see how it goes. I'm going to go over to the Ork shoot on the other side, and I'll come right back and show you guys the Cadian casualties. And hopefully there aren't any. And then we're going to roll for the hospital too. We have to do that to see if there's any Cadian models coming back out. Alright, so that is the end of Wave 2. The Orks have done their thing. Gazkul actually put a round into the Rogel Dorn and wounded it, which is pretty amazing because he only has a Strength 5 weapon against Toughness 12. He got a lot of shots in, has that 5+ ballistic skill, but was still able to get pissed off before he leaves the field and put a round on it. The Ork boys here with their Sluggas, Strength 4, tried to put some rounds on. Nothing happened. Down here, the Knob was not able to fire. These knobs here did fire, but the Khazarkin were able to save, and I think there was only one that made it through. Over here is where there was a problem. The Ruckatruck Squig Buggy, very, very good anti-infantry vehicle for the Orks. If you guys are thinking about collecting or want to collect, it fired into this Cadian section. Got some great rolls because it runs off of a D6 plus 6, so that's tons of little squigglings there. You can see them. They're cute little creatures. Sort of like this guy here. He's like a little squig. Hey, Hoju. But yeah, so they're all over the truck here. It's a really cool little cute model. So they have like a whole bin of squigs in there. And then there's a dude here that's pulled one off of him because he's got bite marks on the shoulder, if you can see that. The shoulder closest to the camera right there. But yeah, it's cute. So they threw a bunch of squigs through the squig launcher onto the Cadian and killed that entire section. Well, at least sent them to the hospital. So that's the end of this wave. All of the Ork models that are here have survived. So we have the 10 boys down there. We have Makari. We have Gazkul. We have the Pain Boy. We have a Knob with 1 wound. We have a Knob with 2 wounds and 2 boys. The Ruckatruck Squig Buggy. These 2 boys here. The Knob there also has 2 full wounds. The Death Dread, which is going to be very scary during that last turn, because if it gets in there, the Bubble Chukka. Also, a lot of these boys are going to have trucks now as well for this next turn, so they're going to be a lot more safe riding in for that final wave. We are not needing a roll here because we know what the final wave is going to be, so I'll show you guys what that is here. It is led by the War Boss and Mega Armor with the 2 Mega Knobs. This is a very, very strong, well-rounded wave. There's Gretchen, who actually have a very good ballistic skill, considering that they are Orc. They have a 4+ instead of a 5+. We have 2 sections of knobs. We have Tank Bustas, we have Flamas, we have Ludas, we have Storm Boys, Killicans, and Defcoptas. And during the first Orc turn, there is going to be 10 commandos coming in with their commander right there, and they are going to be coming into the base based off of a random 6 roll. So I'm going to get that all set up. I'll come right back. We're also going to roll for the hospital, and we'll keep that going. Alright, so with the end of wave 2, we're able to roll for the models in the hospital. There's currently 28 Cadian models in the hospital, so I'm rolling 28 dice to see who's coming back. So as we stated before, on a 1-2, the models are dead outright. I'm hoping that that's not going to be too many, because that means there might be a battle scar on a unit if it's a full unit that's lost. And then 3, 4, 5, they remain in the hospital, and 6, they come back out because they've been patched up. So here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to pull these out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You guys see any more in there? I don't. So that's 7 models dead. Not too bad. We lost 6 in the first round, so 7 more are gone. And I'm going to pull the 6s out now. 1, 2, 3. I don't see any others, so we have 3 models that are coming back out and 7 that are dead. 3 models coming out, 7 that are dead, and then the remainder stay in the hospital. Alright, so just to recap quick there before we move to the next wave, the Kaiserkin Tigers are back up to full strength, so 2 of those fixed up models have been brought back into the Tigers line. We need those Kazarkin firing at full blast, and then the 3rd was added to the gargoyles over here. So this is the tally so far. So these are our dead models on the white here on top of my cabinet. So there's the 6 from the first turn, and then 1, 2, 3, 7 from the second wave. These models are all still in the hospital. I've tried to keep as many as I can from each unit to make sure that they don't suffer a battle scar. That also means that they're less likely to probably get a kill because there's just less firepower. But I'm hoping we will get one more roll for the hospital before the final wave. And I'm hoping that a lot of these models will come back because they're definitely going to be needed. So now I'm moving over to the Orks. I'll just show you guys over here too. So this is what's remaining of that second wave that came in with Gaskell. Just kind of a total here of what's there. From the first wave, we still have these guys coming in too. So lots of trucks, still lots of wounds. And then this is what's just about to come onto the board. So I'll be setting that up in a sec. And then the Cadian, of course, will be able to react because there's a couple of hours between waves. So they're going to be able to get bomb back up with their ammo, get themselves all reset, check their observation post, see where everything is. And then they're going to start rocking and rolling again. And the commandos, led by Boss Snickrot there, are going to come in just off of that center disc at the beginning of the Orc turns. They're not going to have to worry about surviving a Cadian turn first. They're going to sneak right into the facility through a grate system or sewer system or something and create a lot of havoc inside. Oh, I forgot these Orcs too. So they survived from Gaskell's wave. I'm going to put them over with the total there. And then I'm going to get that 3rd wave out here, and we will see how the Cadian manage. Yeah, good luck, Cadian. They're holding out okay, but it's getting really tight, so we might have to start hiding in some tanks here in the Chimera, stuff like that, to make sure that models are going to survive till the end of the battle. But we'll see where the Orcs set up and then where the Cadian are going to set up to react. Alright, so we're just about to get the 3rd wave started here. The Orcs are out on the field. I'm going to break down what we're seeing on each side here from them. This is a very diverse force of Orcs here. They still have that 12-inch move though to get up to the Cadian lines, which has been the same for the whole battle, so they're set up 12 inches out. This wall here is made up of the Burna Boys. We have a squad of knobs. They're going to have 2 wounds apiece. We have the War Boss and Mega Armor with 2 Mega Knobs. That's going to have very high toughness, good saves. Here's another 5 section of knobs, each with 2 wounds. And then we have our Storm Boys over here to face off against them. We have the Kazarkin Gargoyles. The Sentinels have moved up into here to give some fire, hopefully into those knobs. They've had to start pulling the oil rig workers right up onto the front line. So this is the 5 civilian models that are based off of Cadian White Shield stats from back in the day. We have the command squad up on the front now that are going to be able to shoot with the 2 remaining Cadian back here from Sergeant Saronk. They're going to be needed in case, just as backup. The Chimeras here, so that's probably not our heaviest weapon, but one that has the most firepower. And then we have our 2 Ogryn Servitors here that work the oil rig, but they're going to be lending their skills in hand-to-hand combat. They're going to have the same stats as Ogryns in hand-to-hand, except they do not have ranged weapons, so it's going to be hopefully pretty good in hand-to-hand combat. And then rounding it out is Sergeant Dakota's 9 section of Cadian with the Primaris Psyker. And then over here, this is where more of the firepower has gone, more of the tanks. So we have our sole Hellhound left here, staring down the Defcoptas. We have the last Ogryn, the Commissar, and Sergeant Voof as well, kind of staring them down. Leontis has moved in here with the 2 sections of Kazarkin to try to put some firepower onto the tank bus to Orks. And then there's also the Killicans here. So they are... not as strong as Def Dreads, but they're definitely able to deal some damage. So we'll see how that goes. And across from them is the first Rogaldorn. And then we have the second Rogaldorn here. And that's pointing out at the Ludas. And then we have 2 sections of Gretchen. And the Raven Guard Eliminator Snipers are up on the tower. They've turned around to do a 180 to aid in taking out some of these Gretchen, because they actually have a pretty good ballistic skill. So not the best range, but if they get up close enough, they can take some shots and maybe even kill some Kazarkin. We'll have to see. The fuel ordnance batteries are still in the same spots. They're going to be able to lend fire to either side of the battlefield if needed per turn. So this is going to go back to the Cadian. We are starting wave 3. There's my little disc. So good luck, Cadian here. Their force is starting to dwindle. A lot of people in the hospital. There's been several models killed, but the Orks are in rougher shape. We're going to see what Ork models survive these 2 turns. We also have the Commandos coming in at the Orks' first turn after the Cadian go through their move and shoot and any hand-to-hand. And the Commandos are going to appear based off of the center disc there. And it's going to be a scattered ice with 6 inches added onto that, so they could be anywhere in the facility right behind anyone. It adds a little bit more mystery to the game. And the Commandos, if they live this through this wave, they will also be back in the final turn to come back in to the facility in a random spot again based off of that center disc for the final wave. So if there's only a few models left, the Commandos might be the ones killing them, but we're going to move over to Cadian. Good luck, Cadian. They're holding strong so far, but the grind is still on, and this is a very, very strong Ork wave with a lot of models, a lot of firepower. They're out in the open once again, but there might be just too many models right now with a high enough toughness for the Cadian to wound. So let's see how it goes. Over to the Cadian move, shoot, and hand-to-hand. I'll do each of those phases one at a time. Don't think I'll be moving too much, but I might do the shoot, and then I'll come right back and show you guys how many Orks they've killed. All right, so this is the beginning of Wave 3, Cadian turn 1. This is the first side. Very good round by the Cadian. Nothing happened to the Defcopta, sadly. The Hellhound, as well as the Ogryn and the Lone Guardsman up on the roof there, tried to fire at it. The Commissar's out of range. The Kazarkin Tigers fired into the tank bustas and killed 2 of them. These guys have 2 wounds apiece, so that was 4 wounds in total, which was quite good. Those bomb squigs in behind them are actually pretty dangerous, though, because they're going to inflict a lot of damage this turn. I was hoping to wipe out that unit, but it wasn't possible. The Kazarkin over here also fired in. So sorry, it was the 2 Kazarkin squads that did the 4 wounds total, but still pretty good. And then the Rogaldorn Fury fired into the kill cans, killed 1 of them, and the other one is down to 1 wound. The third has its full 5 wounds. And then over here, there used to be a squad of Ludas that have pretty heavy weapons that were staring down the Rogaldorn double impact, and it was able to take out that entire squad of Ludas. So very good turn by the Cadian. I'm going to switch over to the other side here. There's a lot of Ork troops over here and a little less firepower, so we're going to see, really hoping those armored sentinels might be able to do their part this time. But yeah, very good lineup from the Orks on this side. Lots of wounds, lots of toughness, and if they get in close, they're probably going to mangle this side pretty good, and there's going to be more models in the hospital at the end. So I'm going to move over to the shoot and then move over here for the Cadian if there is any. I will come back and show you what kind of Ork models that they have slain with their shoot attacks. Alright, so it started as a very poor round for the Allies. Actually ended up very well. So just to kind of finish off what happened here, the Eliminators from the Raven Guard fired down into our Mega Knobs here and killed one of them outright. Some fantastic rolls there. I think I hit every single shot. To finish it up, the Raven Guard Phobos Librarian did a Witchfire into the knobs and burnt almost the entire squad. So the only one left is one knob remaining. The Khazarkin over here, Khazarkin Gargoyles, were just in range to be able to put some rounds down on the Storm Boys. And there is one Storm Boy left with a Storm Boy knob. My Armor Sentinels did nothing. The Oil Rig Workers up on the Sea Crate, you can't really expect them to do much. They're just pretty much, regular civilians that have some guns there to help, fight off local wildlife and stuff from the oil rig. So they did not fire. The Command Squad actually also did quite poorly. Nothing happened there. The Chimera also did not do great. The Ogrins don't have any range here, the Ogrin Servitors. And then over here, the Cadian section led by Sergeant Saronk fired into the Burnas, and they did kill one Burna. So this is going back over to the Orks here to start their first turn of Wave 3, which means I'm going over the dice tray. I'm going to be rolling a random directional dice, so a scatter dice with a d6, and whatever comes from that is where the boss Snickrot is going to show up with his commando. So that's going to just create some crazy havoc right in the middle of the facility here, and we're going to see what insanity ensues. I just remembered this guy too. Wanted to show you guys. I'll come over on this side actually. These Ork models are hilarious. So the Storm Boy over here, the knob, has a little like Gretchen on his back with a stick bomb. It's hilarious. They're a fun little army. It's tough to kill them. They're a lot of fun to play as, and actually they're doing super well. So I think this is going to get tight, but we're going to move over to the Ork turn now for Wave 3, and we're going to see where these Commandos and Boss Snickrot show up. So over to the dice tray. Alright, in behind the dice tray, so we've seen this dice before from the Tyranid battle at the very beginning of this crusade. If you guys want to check that one out, it is the very first mission that the Cadian had to do. So this is your basic scatter dice. The arrow is going to point to a random direction. If I get the target, it's a hit, so I can place the commandos wherever they think they'll do the most damage. And then I'm going to roll our nice green d6 that decided the different waves that were coming out of Orks, and we're going to see how many inches they appear from the middle. So here we go. Here's the random scatter dice. So it's pointing downwards. I'm going to place that dice on the field there in a second. Let's see how many inches they're going to be. So it is a 1. So it's literally 1 inch from the wave disc there underneath the drill rig. So I'm going to place them, and I'm going to come back and show you guys where they are, and then they're going to get their full move, their full shoot, their full hand-to-hand if they decide to do that. And they got a pretty good move on them. They're close to a couple of units. It actually might give the Raven Guard some issues because they're going to be right underneath the tower where the Eliminators are and where the Librarian is. So I'm going to place them, and I'll be right back to show you guys where they are. Holy crap, they're there. The Commandos and Boss Snickrot right in the center of the facility. They came up through the oil rig hole where they'd been drilling. They've been, digging underground for days to get here. They're just ridiculous models. These things look like, one of them has like a Leon the Professional toque on. It's like they've seen way too many like spy movies and stuff, and they're trying to replicate it. It's hilarious. They also have a bomb squig, which I forgot about, which is super dangerous because that thing can run 12 inches and explode itself and cause mortal wounds. And then they also have a distraction grot, which is one of the most hilarious models ever. I have to see if I can grab him, if I can even find him in here. He's so tiny. Where is he? He's really good. Like, I'm distracted right now. I can't find him. I'll show him to you guys. So what he does is during an enemy's shooting phase, so pretty much as soon as this goes back to the Cadian to try to get these guys killed, the distraction grot can give them a 5+ save. He's actually over here. I forgot to place him. Perfect spot though. It was meant to be. So this is the distraction grot. I don't know if you can get it to focus, but he's got like little, I don't know, X-ray goggles on or something with a grappling hook. He's hilarious. So he's a token, but he is amazing. So he's got like a little black like Viet Cong ninja suit. It's amazing. So I'm going to place him in here too. He's going to be right beside the knob. These guys are actually pretty good too, so we're going to be looking at their stats in a sec there, but they are going to be moving this orc turn, so I'm going to do the orc move right now, come back, look at these guys a little bit because I haven't played as the commandos for quite some time, see what's the best place to put them into, whether that's hand-to-hand combat or shooting if they've got a little bit of a better ballistic skill, I forget. So I'll check that out. I'm going to come back. I'm going to move them first because they've just entered the field and all this drama has been built around them. They're a very kind of cool addition to the narrative of the orc side of the battle. And the Cadian now have a massive problem to deal with because it is a section of 10 commandos led by Boss Snickrot, who has 6 wounds. And you've got the bomb squid and the distraction grot as well. So I'm going to go over to my stats for a sec, check all that out, see what they're going to do, and then I'll move them and I'll come back and I'll show you guys the orc move. All right, since there's going to be a lot to cover there with the orc move, I did this one first. The commandos as well as Boss Snickrot were in enough range there to jump into combat with the Khazarkan Sharkar's own, so they've taken the Khazarkan from behind. You can see Boss Snickrot is a very large model compared to the Cadian. He's a big orc. He's pretty much like a war boss status, but yeah, he's got pretty damn good hand-to-hand combat with Mork's teeth, which is his weapon, and then the rest of the commandos are also very good. Another problem here that we're going to be rolling in just a sec, the bomb squig that's attached to the squad ran right into the bottom of the Rogel Dorn. So on a roll of 2+, the Rogel Dorn is going to suffer 3 D3 mortal wounds. So we're going to see how that plays right now. I'm going to move over to the dice tray. We'll roll for that, and hoping it's a 1, but if it's a 2 or more, that bomb squig has exploded and the Rogel Dorn may take some pretty significant damage. So we'll see what happens. Be right back. All right, here we go. So behind the camera for the bomb squig. So this is once per battle after this unit ends a normal move, which has happened with the commandos. Select one enemy unit within 12 inches. The tank was a lot closer than that, so it's definitely in range of this unit, and roll 1d6. On a 2+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, so it could suffer up to 3 wounds here on a 2+. So it has rolled a 2. The bomb squid exploded successfully. Now we're going to see how many wounds are going to happen here. So the D3 is if it's a 1-2, it's a 1. If it's a 3-4, it's a 2. If it's a 5-6, it's a 3. So here we go. And it's a 6. So the Rogel Dorn does not have an invulnerable save. It has taken 3 mortal wounds. It still has lots of wounds, but later in the battle that might come into play if it's trying to hold off the battle wagons and a bunch of other heavy models like the Death Dread, things like that. So the bomb squig has done his job. I'm going to move the rest of the orcs, and I will be right back to show you that movement. And there's the little bugger that did it. That is what the bomb squig looks like. He's a squig with a big mouth and tons of mines and stuff on his back, so he's the guy that blew up. Anyways, back to the orc move. I just wanted to show you that model. Very cute, very orky, and it just took 3 wounds off of a massive Imperial Guard tank. Alright, so just did the orc movement for this side. I just want to cover what happened here. Cover a little bit of lore too, because it's fun. So these are Gretchen. They're tinier than orcs, and they usually get beat up and abused. The runt herd, who's at the back of these 2 squads, they like poke them and prod them, but they actually kind of like the Gretchen for some reason. They're kind of like herders for them. Gretchen have a better ballistic skill. They're a little bit more relaxed than orcs, but their weapons are not made to penetrate Rogel Dorn tanks. So if that happens, it's going to be an absolute miracle. This is, of course, like you place the orcs first and the Cadian are allowed to react. So that's why I have Rogel Dorns on this side as opposed to infantry, because if it was infantry, the Gretchen might actually do some damage even to Khazarkan. Over here, the Killicans, and this is kind of funny. So the Killicans here are like Gretchen Def Dreads. So there's Gretchen in here that pilot them, and they're kind of like dreadnoughts for the Space Marines. So there are Gretchen models in there, and the funny thing is, like, they get all this armor and they're kind of wired into the system, and they can actually kind of fight back and now pick on the Orks because they're bigger than most Orks. But then of course the Orks get angry, so when they're in a Def Dread, they then go and like bonk the head of a Cadian. So just a little bit of Ork fun there for you guys. They're a blast, a lot of fun to play as. It's been a real joy just playing as them, and I don't know, as an enemy force I like them a lot. Down here the tank bust has moved in, and they have 2 squig bombs. So the squig bombs, just like what we saw with the Rogel Dorn, can move 12 inches to explode anything. If it rolls a 2+, it's a D3 mortal wounds. And within 12 inches are the Khazarkin and also the Hellhound. So the Defcoptas that are here are going to be firing into the Hellhound. If they don't do much damage, or maybe no damage at all, then it might be the bomb squigs that are going to be running in to try to do some wounds. And the Hellhound does have 11, so if both bomb squigs blow up, it's going to be taking that tank down to half. So I'm going to move the other side of the Orks here. Just wanted to cover a little bit of the lore there. It's a lot of fun with the Gretchen, the Orks, the Killicans, the Def Dreads. And then we're going to be getting into the shoot phase here for everyone that can shoot, as well as the bomb squigs running in to blow up. But movement on the other side first, cover that, and then I'll be right back and go to the dice tray, roll off camera, and come back and show you guys what casualties the Orks have tallied up. Alright, and the Ork move is finished on this side too. The Burnas have moved up. This Cadian section, led by Sergeant Dakota, who has not had a battle scar throughout this whole crusade, might receive their first, because they are definitely in range of the Burnas, and those things have a lot of D6 rolls. They're torrent weapons, so you don't have to worry about them hitting. They hit automatically. If you guys want to see those in action against Tyranid, you can check out my Last Stand series. This unit of Orks, the Burna Boys, with a few others, just took on a Tyranid horde, and you can see what kind of damage they do to smaller, less armored models like our Cadian friends here. Over here, the full section of knobs with their full wounds moved up. This is kind of scary. The Chimera is there. It's got a multi-attack. It also has its heavy flamer, but the knobs have a very high toughness. Toughness of 5. They have 2 wounds apiece. And I don't know if that Chimera is going to have the punch to be able to finish them off, so we'll have to see. Over here, our last remaining Mega Knob moved up as kind of a shield for the War Boss, and they are staring down the Cadian Command Squad. They both have ranged attacks, so they're going to be shooting 2 into the Cadian Command Squad, and we're going to see what happens there. The lone knob over here has come right in. He is seeing that these 2 armored sentinels are garbage. They never shoot. They can't hit anything. So he's coming right in to probably kill those 5 civilians on top of the C-can if he can, or at least get as many as possible. And then if he does get into hand-to-hand, he could actually take some wounds off those armored sentinels too. So that's next turn. Hopefully those armored sentinels get a roll during their turn and can actually strip some wounds or maybe kill the knob. And then over here, the 2 remaining Storm Boys flew in with their jump packs on and are in hand-to-hand combat with the Khazarkin Gargoyles here. The Castellan is kind of off to the side here. He's part of that unit, so he's probably going to be able to fight back as well. I'll have to see if he's in range there. And then Storm Boys have the initiative here, and if they get a good roll, they might take it. That's a knob too, so I have to move his 2 wounds over. So he has 2 wounds. There we go. So we're going to move to the Ork shoot now. I'm going to roll that off camera, come back, show you guys how many Cadian have been lost. And then after that, we're going to be taking on this big scrum that's going on here with the Commandos and the Khazarkin. That's going to be... might get that one on camera, actually. We'll have to see. But I'll be right back with the result of the shoots for the Orks. Okay, just to kind of break up the shoot phase here by the Orks, I want to make sure this is covered. So the Defcoptas all fired. They actually have some very good firepower, but that ballistic skill of 5+ is rough, so nothing happened to the Hellhound. It was the Tank Bustas here with their 3 rocket launches that went in and stripped 3 wounds off, and the 2 squig bombs have gone right in to the tread there on the Hellhound, and we're going to roll in the tray right now to see how they're going to do. So I'm just going to do that for you guys live here on camera. And this, again, I'll just read it really quick, is twice per battle after the unit is roll 1d6 on a 2+, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So we're hoping here for the Cadian to have 1s, but if it's the Orks, you're hoping for a 2+. So here we go. And that is definitely higher than 2. I'm glad that wasn't the d3 roll, because that would have been really bad. And the d3 roll is still pretty bad. So that is 2, and that is 3. So we have 5 wounds. The Hellhound is just staggering down. It had 8 minus the 5, so it's down to 3 wounds. I'm going to complete the rest of the turn here for the Orks on this side, and I'll come back and show you guys the casualties from that and then flip over to the other, but I just wanted to get that on camera. So those 2 bomb squigs blew up and have taken 5 wounds off of the Hellhound, which is not great because that final wave is still to come, and I'm going to need tanks and a lot of firepower to deal with some of the units that are coming out there for that last wave. So okay, back to the dice tray, more shoots, and I'll be right back to show you guys how the Orks have done. Alright, so Orc shoot phase is done for this side. I'm not gonna lie, I was sweating there for the Rogel Dorns. So both of the runt herds commanding each of these Gretchen squads got 5s. So they're very protective of their little Gretchen friends. They don't like that the Rogel Dorns are there and that they could hurt them. So they shot, and the Rogel Dorn made both times 2+ save. So it's its lowest save that it can make. If it had made a 1, it would have meant that the runt herd would have like popped around right through one of the ports of the tank. So nothing happened, and then the Gretchen actually had some really good rolls too. They only have strength 3 Grot Blastas, so they're just like little tiny like pistols and muskets that are half the size of the Gretchen themselves. But a lot of them fired with, I think if it had been a strength 4, it might have been, it's still 6s to wound the Rogel Dorns, but they got some 6s there, and then the saves were a bit higher on the Rogel Dorn side. But I was sweating there for a bit, so that was good. Over on this side was a little bit better for the Orks. So the Killicans have some pretty good weapons too in that 4+ ballistic skill because it's Gretchen in there and not Orks. So they fired into the Khazarkan Tigers. Apologies for the sloppy camera work. The table is pretty big and I'm trying to like swing around. It's a lot bigger than my Last Stand series. And the Killicans actually were able to send 4 of the Khazarkan Tigers to the hospital. So they're hopefully going to come back here for that final wave in a bit. But this is what those Khazarkan are dealing with for the next turn. So we're going to go over to the other Orc side, do all the shoots over there, and I'll come back and show you guys the results. And we already saw the outcome of the Def Coptas, the Tank Bustas, and the 2 Bomb Squigs. So that Hellhound is down to 3 wounds. So I'm going to go roll for the other side. I will be right back and show you guys the outcome of that and how many Cadian have been slain by the Orks over there. Okay, so Orc shoot phase is done on this side. The lone knob over here fired into the oil rig civilians and killed the one on the left. Pretty lucky shot for Knob. They have that 5+ ballistic skill as well. Over here, it was the Gretchen on top of the War Boss and Mega Armor. They love to have these guys on their back to sort of help them out. And since it's a Gretchen, it has a 4+ ballistic skill, so a much better shot with the Blasta there. And it killed, it sent one of the command squad to the hospital. We're going to see if they come back. The knobs over here opened up on the Camp Ogrins and nothing happened. And then over here was the most damage done. So the Bernas with the D6 rolls got 14 attacks. Their strength 4 against toughness 3, so the Cadians took a lot of wounds, and they had 6 go to the hospital from Sergeant Dakota's squad. He is still the only section left that does not have a battle scar. I hope this won't be the first battle that happens, but it is looking like that might be the case if I can't get these guys back from the hospital. So I'm moving over now to the Orc hand-to-hand. So we have the Storm Boys over here, and then that massive Commandos group going in against the Khazarkan. So I'm going to roll for the Storm Boys first, show you guys the outcome of that. I'm hoping the Khazarkan are going to be able to fight back because there is only 2 Storm Boys left. One is a Knob, however, so we'll see how that goes. And maybe if the Khazarkan get a counterattack, they can kill them. What I'm more worried about is that Commando squad with Boss Snickrot just tearing apart that Khazarkan Sharkar's own squad. So we'll see what happens. I'll be right back to show you guys. Just going to roll off camera, and good luck, Cadian. Alright, so the Storm Boys hand-to-hand combat attack has been completed. They did kill some Khazarkan gargoyle models, but the gargoyles fought back with the Castellan and were able to kill the Knob as well as the Lone Storm Boy. So the fixed bayonets was a great command to give them. It gave them that extra weapon skill that was needed to fight back. The Chainsword did away with one of them, and then the remaining Khazarkin with the Castellan were able to kill the Knob. So now it is time to go over to the dice tray. I'm going to be rolling for this massive squad of commandos led by none other than Boss Snickrot, and we're going to see how they do against that Khazarkin unit. And yeah, after that it's going to go back to the Cadian, but let's roll that in the dice tray and we'll see what happens. Really hoping the Khazarkin can fight back, but I don't know. We'll have to see. So here we go. All right, so in behind the dice rolling camera now. I usually have a second camera set up here, but I thought to make it easier on myself for editing, I'm only pulling media off of one device instead of a bunch. So this is all going to be off the same memory card. I'm going to see how it goes. Might be a little bit more kind of, I don't know, chopped up, but we'll see what it looks like in editing, and I might continue to do that in the future. Also been a little while since I've done the Crusade, so I'm a little bit rusty here and there in regards to just how kind of the phases went and everything, but I think it's going well, so I hope you guys are liking it so far. Anyways, this is going to be Boss Snickrot with Mork's Teeth, which is 6 attacks. It is twin linked, so this is against the Khazarkin, and it is hitting on 2+. So that's good, it's 2+, because he would have not got too many, so there we go. And it is strength 6 against toughness 3, so this is wounding on 2s, and I can re-roll any misses because it's twin linked, or any wounds. So all are through. If that had been a 1, I could re-roll. And it is -1 to AP, so this is switching over to the Khazarkin now. The Khazarkin do have the take cover command, so usually it would be a 5+ save. It goes back to their normal 4+. Nope, it's still going to be... yeah, AP -1, so it would be 5+, so it's going back to 4+ because of the take cover. So here we go. So 1 saved. Not good though, because Mork's Teeth does 2 damage per attack. So that is 2, 4, 6, 8 damage to the Khazarkin. So there are 2 troops remaining, and we still have the rest of the commandos to go. So I'm going to just take all those models off, leave the 2 that are there, and we're going to see how this goes. Okay, so now we are going to be doing the commandos. So the Commando Knob has a Power Claw. It's 3 attacks hitting on 4+. So 2 are through. It is strength 9 against toughness 3, so wounding on 2s. 1 is through. It is -2, which makes this usually a 6+ save. It's going to be a 5+. Was not saved. It is 2 damage, so those 2 remaining Khazarkin have been sent to the hospital. The entire Khazarkin Sharkgar's own are now in the hospital, and it is moving back over to the Cadian, but that was one hell of a turn. Lot of casualties there. I'm going to just show you guys kind of a recap where the commandos are currently on the board. They're very close to Leontis, so I'll switch back over to this camera just off the tripod and fill in what happened. Okay, so here we are at the end of wave 3, turn 1 for the Orks. So there's still a full Cadian turn left, and then another full Ork turn with this exact same loadout. So the commandos are in the facility. They're looking to kill as many people as they can. Super close to Leontis, so I'm gonna have to get some strategy going here. Leontis is probably gonna move back, try to put some range on them, but they do have the distraction grot, which means that they're going to be able to be very sneaky. Boss Snickrot also has an ability to be able to leave the board and come back 9 inches horizontally from any model, allied model. So we're going to see if I put that into action. If I do that, however, the commandos lose the buffs that he gives them, so I'm going to have to see that when it goes back to the Orks. But for now, it's over to the Cadian side. Just show you guys the hospital quickly after that wave 3 turn 1. This is what's in the hospital right now. We have like probably 30 maybe 50 models in there, and then these are all the casualties for the Cadian so far. We're going to be rolling, of course, the hospital roll at the end of this wave to see who's going to be remaining in the hospital, who is dead, and then who's coming back out onto the field. And so far, this is the Orc casualties. The Cadians have been doing well. It's a long grind. They're getting tired. The Orcs are always up for a scrap. They're big brutes. So, well, back here, these are actually, these aren't. Those are my Deathcore Krieg infantry guys, and I have some Night Lords going on. That's another story. But the Orcs kind of start here, go across. This is my painting table usually, but right now it's just littered with Orc dead. But there's still a lot as well coming in that final wave. So I'm going to move back to the Cadian. We'll do their move, get some strategy going, and I will show you guys where the Cadian all lie. I'm not going to be able to reset them because that's only during a new wave, so they're going to be moving their regular movement within or just outside of the walls of the facility, if that's what I plan to do, and then I'll come back and show you guys their move. Okay, so I'm going to sum up that Cadian move. I did some pretty good sort of tactical withdrawals there. So we still have the Khazarkin and Armored Sentinels staring down this final knob. Not too big a threat, hopefully. Hoping that it's going to be wiped out during this Cadian shoot phase, but we'll see. Over on this side, it got a little bit more drastic for the retreat. So our oil workers jumped off the Seacan and back as far as they could. The command squad and 2 remaining Cadian from the section went inside the Chimera. So I always use a little box for that. So here they are. That is Sergeant Saronk's section. So they can man the las guns. We'll have to see if they're in range. I think they are. And then the multi-laser and heavy flamer heavy flamer may not be the multi-laser is, but they're still staring down the Mega Knob and the War Boss in Mega Armor. The oil rig servitors, like they're Ogrins. They've been lobotomized because they're servitors, but Ogrins are kind of already lobotomized. Sorry to be rude, but they're not too bright. So they've stayed at the wall, and they're going to try to maybe take on the knobs if they come in and hold them up for the turn. And then Sergeant Dakota moved back as well with his remaining section to try to get away from the flamers, but I think they'll be able to move up and probably still get them in range, but it was worth a shot. The Hellhound over here moved back as well because those Def Coptas are very close. The Commissar, Sergeant Voof, and the Ogren jumped off of the roof and down in behind. They're trying to get cover here to survive this game. That's what the whole mission is for them. The Khazarkin Tigers moved back, but the tank busters are still right there. The kill cans are close as well as the commandos, but Leontis has also gone back to try to maybe put some rounds down on the Orcs. They're probably going to use their distraction grot though to lessen any shots that are coming in at them. The Rogaldorn here also moved back to get some range to put some rounds down on the kill cans. And then the last Rogaldorn over here moved back as well to get some distance from the Gretchen, because actually last time, as you guys saw, the Runt Herds as well as the Gretchen got lots of shots in on that Rogaldorn, and if there's one lucky hit and then a 1 is rolled by the Rogaldorn, that's going to be a wound removed. Also this Hellhound too, since it's down to 3 wounds, it has a -1 to its hit roll now, so it's not going to be able to hit as well. Another reason why I moved it back. And the Raven Guard Eliminators and Librarian are still on top of the tower. They may be my last units if it comes down to it during that final turn. We'll have to see how it goes. But I'm going back over to the Cadian shoot now. I'm going to be shooting with all of them, and I will show you guys the outcome of that. I'm going to roll that off camera, and we'll see what kind of casualties they can rack up against the Orcs. Alright, so end of the Cadian shoot phase for wave 3. The Hellhound, being down to 3 wounds, has some penalties to it now, so I had to subtract 1 from its hit roll, which means that it did not fire with the Melta-Cannon. So the Def Coptas are healthy. They're going to be flying in there to take it out. The Tank Bustas had a couple killed there by the Shark Gars or Khazarkin Tigers. The Rogaldorn Fury over here put everything it had into the kill cans, and there's 1 kill can left with 2 wounds. Hoping that I would have taken those out, but there's still 1 remaining. Over here, and it's going to be interesting to see because I'm going to be giving this thing probably my mark for greatness as of now, mattering if it survives the battle, we'll see. But Rogaldorn Double Impact, there's some new rules with the new codex for requisitions. as well as battle honors for tanks and armored officers. So I'm going to definitely be seeing what I can do with that, because they have 3 unit kills. The Rogaldorn double impact finished off the 2 sections of Gretchen with their runt herds. I actually had the runt herds sacrifice themselves first, kind of like the guy in Star Wars there, that loses the big Rancor, the Rancor keeper. So the runt herd tried to jump in the way of the pulverizing rounds as well as the double impact rounds, and they were killed, and then all their Gretchen followed shortly after. Just way too much firepower, and the Gretchen don't have a save. It's +7, so they need to be in cover to be able to get a 6th right out in the open against a Rogaldorn. No chance, so they've been taken out. I'm now flipping the shoot over here for my Cadian. The turn's almost done for them because they're not in hand-to-hand combat. Then it's back over to the Orc, but we will get these Cadian shooting here, and we'll see how many kills they can tack on there before the end of this wave. All right, that is the end of the Cadian turn for wave 3. It's going back over to the Orcs to finish this wave up. Pretty good round. It was okay. The Khazarkan Gargoyles were able to kill that final knob. That was after both Armored Sentinels missed their shots. These things, like, I don't know, I think they're cursed. So I'm going to see what kind of requisitions we have there with the new codex, and I might remove one or both. And maybe bring in like a heavy weapon squad or something that's, I don't know, that I'm going to have more rolls with, because just with one weapon system each, it's very limiting. They're okay, like wound-wise and in hand-to-hand, but they haven't really done anything via that for the game. The other really poor stuff here was the snipers, actually. These are like Raven Guard, Superhuman, Space Marine eliminators, and they fired down into the Mega Knob. 2 of them missed completely, and then the third one fired and didn't roll high enough to wound. So not great for superhuman snipers. I did a hazardous smite with my Phobos Librarian. Luckily he wasn't harmed, but he also did no damage to the Mega Knob. So the Mega Knob is here with the War Boss and Mega Armor. The knobs here were fired upon by the Chimera, so the Lasgun Array, the Chimera multi-laser. Heavy Flamer was out of range, but it put all of its rounds on, and just the toughness was too high for these guys, so nothing happened. Over here, however, Sergeant Dakota did great with his remaining section and the Primaris Psyker. They were able to kill the last few Burnas and leave just one remaining. It is, however, moving back over to the Orc turn, and this is going to move and probably be in range to possibly roast Dakota and his section. So we'll see what happens there. It's going back over to the Orcs. I'm going to do their move. I will show you what has happened there, and then we're going to start rolling for shoots if that's the case, or any hand-to-hand. So I'll be right back and show you guys the outcome of that. Apologies everybody, was just doing the move over here for the Orcs, and I noticed that I didn't even recap what happened here with Leontis versus the Commandos. So the Commandos used the Distraction Grot, which gives them a 5+ invulnerable save. And Leontis was able to get a shot off, and he was able to kill 2 of the Commandos. So they didn't make that invulnerable save, but it was available to them. So now I'm going to do this right on camera. The Commandos are going right into hand-to-hand combat with Leontis. As we've seen, and as I've told you guys, Leontis has taken on some pretty tough odds before, but this is I don't know if he'll survive this one, because they do have Boss Snickrod in there. They have the Commando Knob, and then all the Commandos as well have, you know, probably 3 attacks per weapon, so it's going to be pretty crazy. At least Leontis was able to kill 2, so he's not facing the full 10 Commandos. I'll be rolling that in just a sec here after the rest of the Orc move has been recapped. I can do that right now too. So the kill can is moved into the facility. It's got quite a few units in its range, as well as the tank busters here right up against the wall. They can fire into the Khazarkan Tigers. The Def Coptas flew right over the wall, and they're going to be putting their missiles onto the Hellhound, so that may be the end of our Hellhound. We're going to have to see. The Burna over here moved in, and Dakota is definitely in range there. We have the Knobs that jumped the Ogren Servitor oil workers. So that's going to be, that might be lights out too, and that's a pretty good hand-to-hand combat unit that won't be there for that last round if they do get killed. Each Ogren does have 3 wounds, so they might be able to fight back, but we'll see. The War Boss and Mega Armor and the Mega Knob are quite slow. They move 5 inches apiece, so they haven't really been able to get into hand-to-hand, which is their mastery. So I might be putting them into a truck during this final wave. We're going to have to see. But they do have the Chimera in range. So they might be putting some rounds in on that before they leave the battlefield. So I'm going to do the shoot here for the Orks. I'll sum that up really quick in just a sec when that's been rolled. And I'll show you guys what Cadian are left, and then we're going to move into hand-to-hand combat. And of course, I'm most worried about Lord Solar Leontis, who is our warlord. He will be in the hospital though, so it's possibly comes back. And I should mention any unit that's in the hospital. Just take the roof off again here to remind you guys. There's a lot more in there than what's showing, but yeah, any unit that has a multi-wound comes back with only 1 wound. So if Leontis does get killed here, he rolls that 6 and comes back onto the field. He's going to be coming back with 1 wound. If he loses that wound, he'll go back to the hospital. If he comes back, so on and so forth. But we will see how that goes. But there's the hospital there. And just to recap again, to show you guys before this kicks off, these are all the units in the hospital right now. So that's going to be a hell of a lot of rolls at the end of this wave to see who's dead, who's coming back, and who is still in the hospital. So over to the Orks for their shoot, and I'll be right back to show you guys the outcome. All right, quick shoot sum up here on the side of the Orks. So the Berna was in range, fired, killed 2 of Sergeant Dakota's squad. He's the only one left with the Primaris Psyker. Still no battle scars yet, but we will see by the end of this battle what happens. Over here, the Mega Knob fired into the Chimera, nothing happened, but the War Boss in Mega Armor with his Gretchen buddy on the back fired in and did strip 1 wound off, so it went from 11 down to 10. And that is the end for the Orks on this side. I'm going to flip it over to the other side there, do the shoot, and then we're going to get into hand-to-hand combat and see what happens. Alright, so I thought I'd definitely get this roll on camera. This is Boss Snickrot versus Leontis. Leontis also has the entire almost commando section around him, so we're going to see if he can survive this. If not, he is going to the hospital, so he might be back, but let's see. All right, so this is Mork's Teeth. It is 6 attacks, hitting on 2+. Yeah, Boss Snickrot is pretty damn good. So those are all hits. It is a strength 6 versus toughness 4, so wounding on 3s. And it is twin linked, so I can roll the 2 1s again. And only 1 fell off from that, so this is a lot of attacks. It's 2 damage per, so this is enough to kill Leontis. If he doesn't make his save, it is a -1. Leontis's usual save is a 3+, so with the -1 armor penetration, that brings him to his invulnerable save of 4+. So here we go. Not good. Oh, geez. So he saved 1, and then there's 2, 4, 6, 8 that are through, which is Leontis's full wounds. I'm just going to check and see. Yeah, he doesn't have any abilities for feel no pain or anything like that, so Leontis has actually been taken off the board. He's in the hospital. Of course, I'm going to get him back if I roll high enough for one of the individuals in the hospital. I will sum up the rest of that Ork turn, so the shoots happened as well. I'll show you guys what happened there, and then I just wanted to roll for Leontis on camera to show you guys what happened to him. So he is on his way to the hospital. All right, so that sums up wave 3. That is the last turn for the Orks. You can see Leontis was there, way too many attacks, and it was actually Boss Snickrot alone, as you guys saw on camera, that was able to finish him off. The other hand-to-hand combat that happened was over here. The Camp Ogren from the oil camp, the 2 of them were killed by the Knobs. I wouldn't say the Knobs are the best models in hand-to-hand combat in the game, like in the entire Warhammer universe, but they're still pretty damn good, and they got the job done against some high-toughness multi-wound models. Down here, I think I've summed everything else up. We're pretty much good to go. One of the Khazarkan Tigers was killed. And that was killed by the custom Zuka or whatever it's called on the Killican. So all of the models that are here for the Orks do move into the final wave. So I can just do a quick sum up here, show you guys what's going on there. So we have the Berna alive, the War Boss and Mega Armor, the Mega Knob, War Boss and Mega Armor if he's in a truck and gets into the facility, lights out. Full squad of Knobs, we have the 3 Defcoptas, which are dangerous. I don't think I recapped them, but they fired into the Hellhound. Actually, they didn't fire because they have that 5+, and then they had to try to use their Sluggas, so it didn't work. And the Hellhound fights on another day, so that's good. The Tank Bustas are still alive, and then the Killican from that wave. The remaining models here, so the York force is definitely dwindled, but there's still a lot. There's wave 1 that we saw at the very start here, so still 3 trucks that can pretty much put every single Ork model that's still alive in there. They're 22 per, so that's 66 spots in those trucks to drive in, the battle wagons. Rocket Truck Squig Buggy, the Def Dread with its full wounds, which is scary. You saw that thing tin can the Hellhound. There's the Bubble Chukka. We got some Ork boys still remaining, and then Big Man Gaskell. He does have 3 wounds. He actually used to have an ability where he'd be able to regenerate. He doesn't have that anymore in 10th edition, so they've really kind of dumbed him down, but he's still alive. He still has the Pain Boy there to give him that feel no pain rule, and he's got a knob in there behind him too. So the Cadians still have a very tall order, and then the Commandos who are in the facility here, they only lost 2 models during this wave. They will also be coming in at the beginning of the Ork turn 1 in wave 4 in the same way that they came in this time, so in a random direction from the middle. And you saw what they did. They can create a lot of havoc. They still shoot, and they have Boss Snickrot there that can do pretty much any hand-to-hand. So before we move to wave 4, this is the downtime for the Cadian. I'm going to clear the Ork models off. They're going to be able to get some food into them, some water, get bombed back up with their ammo, and we're going to be rolling. I have to count this. I don't even know how many models are here, but I'll be rolling all of these dice as these models are in the hospital. This is their last chance to get back into the fight. So any 6s, they're back in. 3, 4, 5s, they're going to be in the hospital, but they're kind of incapacitated and can't fight. And then any 1s and 2s, those models are dead. So what I'm going to try to do here is lessen as many battle scars as I can. I've already taken a few from my vehicle units, from other models that couldn't be resuscitated. No, the Ogryn are still good. So I'm going to roll all of these dice here in a sec. I'm going to get that on camera too, just so you guys can see that. And any 6s are going to be bringing back my best models here. So either support weapons, Leontis, characters that I believe will do the best in that final phase, if it's hand-to-hand combat weapons, stuff like that. And then I'm going to set up all of the Orks. We're going to have the Cadian react to that setup, so they'll be able to set up in their lines to match off best is what they think. And then we're going to move into this 4th and final round to see if the Cadians win this one. So it's been a very cool battle. Can't wait to do that. I'm going to go over the dice tray now, roll for the hospital, and we'll see who's coming back into the game. Okay, so here we are behind the dice camera, the very end of wave 3 before wave 4. This is the hospital roll. So I just counted up, there's 48 models in that little hospital building. So it's sweaty in there, it's stinky, there's limbs hanging off, there's people puking and shitting in there and pissing themselves. So we're going to see who's coming back in, who's going to come back out to the fresh air and away from all the stench. This is it right here. I've had to mix all my white, all my red, and then some of my black dice as well. So let's see who's coming back into this fight and who is dead. All right, so we have 1s and 2s are dead, 6s are alive. So I'm going to pick the 6s out first and move them over here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You guys see any more? 7. 7 out of 48 have come back into the fight. So I'm going to have to really strategize that to make sure they don't get battle scars. And this is the last chance that they have to come back into the fight. So if they get killed here, that unit's going to be getting another battle scar. Definitely bringing Leontis in, but we'll see what happens. Now let's see how many are dead. So 1, 2s are dead. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So that just goes right in hand with the way I've been rolling for these allied guys. Like, it's been a better battle, I'm not going to lie. I've been rolling a bit better for them. But this is how many models are going to be plucked out, and then I'm going to have 7 that are coming back into the fight. So I'm going to go do that off camera. I'll show you guys who has come back in when we get back into the fight here, and we have the Orks all lined up and the Cadian all lined up. I'm going to have to think about this for a little bit and make sure I'm bringing back the best models and then removing probably the worst models. So, you know, las guns probably are going to be most of these dice. And I want special weapons back in, special characters back in. So we'll see how it goes. But I'll be right back, show you guys all that in a sec, as well as where the Orks are lined up for the 4th wave, and then where the Cadian are lined up to react. Alright, so the forces have been set up for wave 4. The Cadian are going to start first. I didn't actually really realize how dwindled the Cadian are until I set this up. I have Leontis back on the field with 1 wound. He has 2 Khazrakan in front of him, the Sergeant and the Meltagun straight out of the hospital, so they're busted up big time. They're kind of here in case those commandos come back in from the middle, and we saw what happened to Leontis with full wounds, so we're going to have to see if he can hold them off, maybe with the Khazrakan's help. This is what's going on with the Orks, just to show you guys first. We have the final Squig Hog Boy Knob with 2 wounds coming into the facility. We have a battle wagon here, kind of random boys who survived the waves, Kill Can, Mega Knob, another wagon, and then down at the end here is the Bubble Chukka, the artillery piece. In these 2 trucks, though, however, I'll show you guys over here my sheet of paper. So this is pretty devastating. In the open battle wagon is Gazkull, the Pain Boy, Makari, a tank busta, 2 tank bustas that are left, and then a random Knob. In the battle wagon with the cannon on it, there's 10 Ork boys with our war boss in mega armor. And then in the final battle wagon with roller, we have Zodgrod Wartsnaga, the Weird Boy, and then the 10 Beast Snaga boys. So they're going to be flying into the lines. Gazkull's in this one right here. This thing moves very quickly. If it survives the attacks from the Rogel Dorn that I'm going to be putting onto it, Gazkull's going to be right in there to be able to fight. So lined up here we have our Rogel Dorn double impact. The Space Marine Raven Guard have actually come down off the tower to lend some help in hand-to-hand, because they do have multi-attacks, multi-wounds. So we're going to see how they do. The tank mechanics and support are actually on the front line too. They don't have any ranged weapons, but they can try to help out in hand-to-hand. We have the Commissar, the Last Ogren, and Sergeant Voof, the only one remaining from his section, in the center there, ready to take on whatever Orks come in. We have the other Rogel Dorn here staring down the other truck, and this is the one with the Rolla, so it has all of the Beast Snaga boys in it, I believe I just said. And then the Khazrakan got up on the wall here, the Tigers, and I'm hoping that they're going to have maybe enough penetration to take the truck out before it gets to the base. But this thing has 8 wounds still, pretty high toughness, so we'll see what happens. Over on this side, we have Sergeant Dakota with 2 guys as well, straight out of the hospital, the Plasma Gunner and the Grenade Launcher. We have the Primaris Psyker, the Hellhound that is just limping along with its remaining 3 wounds. The Oil Rig owner, as well as his kind of bodyguard and foreman, have come out. His administrative staff with their personal weapons. The poor rattling squat cook is there. We have the Preacher who's out of the hospital with a couple of Cadian. The command squad very close to that Chimera again. If they have to jump in to try to survive to the end of this battle, they can. Across from them we have the Def Coptas with full 4 wounds each and some very good rockets. We have a full squad of Knobs that have range and hand-to-hand combat. We have the last truck here that also has a very large force of Orks in it. Across from that is the 4 remaining oil workers with their personal weapons. We have the 2 armored sentinels that have been pretty much garbage my entire crusade, but maybe by some miracle they're going to do some crazy penetration. I might be doing some hazardous shots too with the plasma cannon, just get it going. I need to have everything I possibly can in this turn to try to take out these trucks before they get in. The Rucka Truck Squig Buggy is over here, as well as the Death Dread, and the Death Dread has a full 8 wounds, and across from them is the Castellan with the 4 remaining Khazarkan Gargoyles. I do have a Meltamine, which I've held off until the very end of the battle. That might turn the tide in destroying a vehicle, we'll have to see. My Bombast Field Cannons are over here, and if you guys are Orc players, you have noticed that I have not called the Wog yet, and that is because it's going to be happening during their very first turn. So that is going to be called. It's going to boost up these Orcs in a whole bunch of ways. Again, if you guys see my Last Stand Crusade where the Orcs took on the Tyrannid, you can see what kind of abilities they get from that. So higher weapon skill, higher ballistic skill, higher saves sometimes, extra attacks, a whole bunch of stuff. So as soon as this switches over to the Orcs, they're going to be getting the commandos popping in around this area here again with Boss Snickrot, and the Wog is going to be called. So holy shit, it's going to come right down to the wire again, I think, for the Cadian here. The tanks do have a lot of wounds, really good toughness, but if there's enough models around them, they might get shredded. If the Death Dread gets in at anything, it's going to tear it apart. So going to be a very, very crazy 4th wave here. So it's going back over to the Cadian. So the Cadian are going to have their move, their shoot, any hand-to-hand. Goes back to the Orc. The Orc are going to have their move, their shoot, their hand-to-hand. Back to the Cadian for move, shoot, hand-to-hand. And then this game is going to finish off with the Orcs, with the Wog still going, because that is for the entirety of the wave. It's going to be a really tight fight to the end, and no models can come back after this either, because that's the end. There's no rest in between this one. So, you know, they might be fixed up there, but the battle will be over. So if this place has been completely overrun and the victory indicator has been met by the Orcs, which is kill every single allied model, then the Orcs win. And then if the Cadian and the allied models here have at least 1 model left at the end, 1 model is all they need to be able to call down reinforcements or whatever it is, or just wait out to see those Space Marines coming over the hill there, because, you know, that other battle's been going on a few miles away. As we found out at the beginning of this fight, these Orcs have left to be able to try to get the fuel from the oil camp because they're running low, and if they can't get that fuel and there's at least 1 survivor left, they have held off this facility long enough for massive reinforcements to come in, and the Orcs will not get the gas and promethium that they need. So we're going to move into this right now. It is going to be the Cadian's turn. I'm going to do everything I can off camera. Might start rolling some stuff in the dice tray as well, because there's probably going to be some pretty dramatic shoots and hand-to-hand combat, and we'll see how it goes. Rooting for the Cadian, go Cadian. It's been a blast playing with the Orcs though, but yeah, Cadia stands. Let's do it. All right, so recapping the shoot turn from the Cadian on this side. The Khazarkan as well as the Rogaldorn Fury fired into the truck, the battle wagon. I was hoping so hard that the Rogaldorn was going to be able to finish this thing off, but it still has 2 wounds remaining. Every single weapon system that was in range from the Khazarkan fired at it, and every single weapon from the Rogaldorn that was in range also fired. However, over here, if you guys remember, there was a truck. So the double impact Rogaldorn, which is definitely getting my mark for greatness now after this shot, went into the open truck, and Gazkul's in there. So the truck was exploded, did the deadly demise rolls, nothing happened to the models within, so they kind of spilled out onto the battlefield, and now they are ready to just run in. I was hoping, you know, from the Orc side that the trucks would be able to deliver them a little bit faster and with more wounds, but, you know, the truck was destroyed, but it was able to protect at least Gazkul and the rest of the troops that were in there for the Orcs to make sure that they can have this final assault, because there are still 2 Orc turns ahead for this final wave. So I'm going to flip over to the other side now and see how the shoot goes on this side. Still lots of Orc models, another battle wagon over here. Not as much tank firepower either. We have the Chimera, we have the busted up Hellhound, and then the 2 armored Sentinels that are probably my most punch with weapon systems. So we're going to see how that goes. I'm going to roll that off camera, come back and show you guys what they're able to do to the Orks during this turn. And then after that shoot, it is flipping right back over to the Orks, and it might get pretty nasty for the Cadians. So hold tight and we'll see what happens. Okay, so that finishes up the Cadian shoot phase for wave 4 in their first turn. Not as great as the other side, but I was kind of expecting that because there's just not as much firepower over here, not as much strength weapons. So the Hellhound was not able to do too much. It was actually Sergeant Dakota and his plasma gunner that fired into the Defcopta as well as his crack grenade launcher and brought one of the Defcoptas down from 4 wounds to 1 wound. So that's pretty good considering that they didn't have amazing weapons. The entire oil rig staff that was here fired into the Defcoptas. Nothing happened. The Preacher, the 2 Cadian, and the remaining command section fired into the Knobs. Nothing happened there either. Their toughness is just too high. The Chimera multi-laser, great for anti-infantry, but not very good against other vehicles, and it was not able to do anything to the battle wagon. Surprise, surprise, my armored sentinels both did not fire, so they definitely had the firepower to be able to maybe put some hurt on that battle wagon, but it didn't happen. I didn't roll high enough to actually have them shoot. The oil rig workers over here have like little tiny pop guns, so they tried to shoot into it as well. Nothing happened. And then finally over here, the Khazarkin had a pretty tough decision, either the Ruckus Truck Squig Buggy or the Def Dread. They chose to put their weapons onto the Ruckus Truck Squig Buggy, and they actually brought it down a wound, so now it has 2 wounds remaining. The Def Dread, however, still has its full 8. So this move is going back over to the Orks in just a sec, and we are going to see what they do. I'm going to do their move phase, come back on this side and on the other and show you guys where they are and kind of what their strategy is going to be for their first turn. Also be going to the dice tray in a sec too, because the commandos will be entering the field again. A scattered dice d6 away from that center drill rig point underneath the main structure. So we're going to see. This is going to be close. Okay, here we go. So this is going to be the beginning of turn 1 for the Orks in the final wave 4. It is our scatter dice in d6. We're going to see how far those commandos come in from that center point underneath the drill rig. So it's 1 inch, pretty much right underneath the drill rig point. I'm going to place them, move the rest of the Orks, and show you guys what we're looking at there. And there they are. The Ork commandos are back in the oil rig facility. They're going to splinter off, I think, this time. Boss Snickrot is going to go after his prized trophy, being Leontis. And then the remaining commandos are going to create some havoc here behind enemy lines and kind of spread out to maybe hack at the Chimera, the oil rig workers, the armored sentinels, because they have to kill as many as possible, or actually all of them to be able to win the battle. So I just wanted to show you guys that first. Also, I forgot my bombast field guns, so they fired as well, just there to finish the Cadian turn, and they actually were able to take 2 wounds off of the battle wagon, so not too bad. Not great either though, because the bombast field guns are capable of doing a lot of damage, and that was at 14 wounds down to 12, so it's still going to be moving. So I'm going to do the Ork move on both sides. I will come back, show you guys where they have moved to, and then we're going to start rolling for their shoot. And yeah, good luck, Cadian. Here we go. Alright, so the Ork move has happened. Tons of models have been disembarked from their transport vehicles. The Beastnaga boys, for example, are right underneath the Khazarkin Tigers. They're going to be able to shoot up at them this turn. The battle wagon here has some pretty good firepower as long as it can get that ballistic skill off to do some damage to the Rogel Dorn for sure. Lone Knob here staring down the Commissar. We got a Knob and some boys. These are the guys that spilled out of the open-topped battle wagon earlier, so Gazskull. They're over here with a couple of tank busters, going to be firing on the Rogel Dorn, so that might be in trouble too. The Kill Can is going to be taking on the Space Marines. Over on this side, we have the Rucka Truck Squig Buggy that's come in, great anti-infantry that's going to be shooting at the Khazarkin and the Castellan. We have the Def Dread. The Warboss and Mega Armor jumped out of the back of the truck as fast as he could and went right into hand-to-hand combat with both of the armored sentinels, so that's going to be a hell of a scrap. He's got the initiative there, so it's possible he could just wreck one of those. Over here, the rest of the Ork boys that were inside the wagon jumped out, and they're attacking the oil rig workers on the top of the sea can. And we have the commandos in behind there. They're going to be able to move to or shoot at the Chimera, mattering what they want to do. The knobs here have moved up as well. Not as quick as the other units, but they'll definitely be in there probably during the last turn of the game. And then we have our Defcopters here that have the Chimera in their sights, as well as the oil rig workers. So I'm going to get to the shoots now. We're going to see how this all goes. Going to move those commandos too. Kind of forgot about them. They're inside there, so they can still have their 6-inch move. They might actually help the war boss try to take on those armored sentinels. But we'll see that in just a sec. So I'm going to roll for the shoots, and then we'll do the hand-to-hand combat, and I'll be right back and show you guys after each of those phases what the outcome is. Just did the move there for the commandos. Want to show you guys what happened in case I forget, because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on here in a sec. But Boss Nickrot is sneaking up right behind Leontis. He is able to shoot here, but he was not in range for hand-to-hand combat. If Leontis does not move, then Snickrot will be into combat with him next turn. And then over here, just as I was stating, but so you guys can see as a visual, the commandos with their commando knob have gone in to help out the war boss in mega armor, take down the 2 armored sentinels. So we will see how that goes. Now it is time to roll for the shoots, and I will do the hand-to-hand combat after that. But first I'll show you guys the outcome of the shoots, and we'll keep moving this battle forward. Over to the Orks shoot in their turn 1 for wave number 4. All right, so covering the shoot phase on this side for the Orks. Could have gone a lot better for the Orks and a lot worse for the Cadian. So the Def Dread and the Rucka Truck Squig Buggy fired into the Kazarkin and the Castellan. The Castellan lost 1 wound. I allocated it to him as opposed to the Kazarkin because we need them to be able to do my little strategy plan there with the Meltamine during this final shoot phase for them. Hand-to-hand still to happen over here. Those armored sentinels in trouble, as well as the oral workers. The battle wagon here fired into the Chimera and nothing happened, which was great. Everything either missed or bounced off. The knobs fired into the command squad and they did kill the standard bearer, so he has been removed. No longer able to be put into the hospital. The hospital is just ready to burst with all the troops in there, so he is dead. Over here was the worst loss. So the Defcoptas opened up with all of their rockets. These things are capable of inflicting a hell of a lot of wounds. Luckily, it's got that 5+ ballistic skill, so a lot didn't fire. But there was enough to take out the lone Hellhound, which is the Hellhound Imp. So both of my Hellhounds were lost during this battle. It's going to be battle scars for them. I've tracked that on my sheets. I'm moving now over to the other side to see how the Ork shoot phase goes over there, and I'm going to come back and recap that in just a sec. Alright, so that is the end of the Ork shoot for wave 4 in turn 1. The bubble Chukka fired into the Rogaldorn. I didn't get a dense bubble, so it just kind of blapped off the hull and that was it. Not too many kills by the Orks during this turn. That ballistic skill of 5+ is making it really rough for them to get any actual hits. The only casualty was over here. The weird boy with his Edbanga killed one of the Kazarkin Tigers. Everything else here was pretty much a no-go. There was one of the Ork boys or Knob down here that wounded the Commissar though, so he's from 3 to 2. And Boss Nickrot as well with the, he's got a bit of a better ballistic skill of 4+, but he wasn't able to fire. I rolled a 3, so that was it for that. It is now time, however, for hand-to-hand combat, and we have this big melee going on over here. So I'm going to be rolling that. Maybe in the dice tray actually get some of those rolls going, and from there we'll see how that shakes out. Alright, so starting up this hand-to-hand combat phase by the Orks in their turn 1 of wave 4 with the war boss in mega armor. Since the WOG has been called, his huge choppa goes from damage 2 to damage 3. So this is 4 attacks hitting on 2+. All of them are through. It is a strength 12 versus a toughness 8. So this is wounding on 3s. And 2 fell off there. It is a -2 to AP, bringing the Sentinel from its 2+ to a 4+. And it made both. So it has defended itself from the war boss in mega armor, even though that WOG is going. Now I'm going to move over to the commandos here in just a sec, and I'll get that rolling. Okay, so this is the Commando Knob. He's got a Power Claw, and that goes from 3 to 4 attacks because of the WOG that's been called. So this is hitting on 4+. 2 fell off. It is strength 9 against toughness 8, so wounding on 3s. And he got 1 through. -2 to AP, so 4+ save for the Sentinel. And it rolled a 5. It's rolling well for the saves, not so much for the attacks. The remaining commandos have choppas, so I'm just going to grab those dice. It's going to be a sec here to get that going, and I'll be right back to show you guys those rolls. Okay, commandos going here with their choppas. The WOG is still in action, so this is an additional attack per model. So these are choppas hitting on 3+. That's 30 dice from 8, 30 attacks from 8 models because of the WOG being called. So drop the dice. All those are 3s. We're going to be rolling this in just a sec. The Sentinels do have a bit higher toughness, so that's helping them through this, because the Orks, even though they are pretty strong, it's strength 4. So this is 4 against toughness 8, wounding on 6s. There's a few through. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 attacks that have wounded. Clear those out. Let's pop in a red dice here. There we go. And the Choppa does a -1 to AP, so this is going to be a 3+ save from the Armored Sentinel. So 1 has wounded. It is 1 damage, so it has gone from 7 wounds down to 6. And we're going to move over here in just a second. I'm probably going to shoot it off camera, but the oil rig workers who are in combat with the Ork boys on the other side. So I'll be right back. I'm going to show you guys the recap of that whole move in just a sec. Alright, so that hand-to-hand combat has been resolved. I also rolled for the Armored Sentinels counterattack, and they actually killed 2 commandos fighting back. So maybe I will keep these things around, and I just have to get them more into hand-to-hand combat. But all the commandos attacked, as well as the War Boss and Mega Armor. You guys saw that. The Sentinels didn't take any damage. And then 1 was, or 2 were killed from the Orks. Over here, not such a good turnout for the oil rig workers. They were killed by the Knob pretty much by himself, and then 1 other Ork boy was able to chop them in half. So that's 4 more models that are dead. It is moving back over to the Cadian now for their movement and their final turn. So it will go move, shoot, hand to hand. As of right now, I think the Cadian are going to get another victory. So we're going to see how that goes. And it will come down to the final turn, because the Orks do get the last turn. So there's still a lot of Cadian models left. The Ork have had issues with movement. I probably didn't do a great strategy there. That big wave with Gazkul initially should have been in the trucks and pulled right up. But I wanted to have more of kind of a mechanized group, and then more of kind of an infantry group to see if they could at least get some shots with that many models. But that 5+ ballistic skill is super tough with the Sluggas. But yeah, it's going to move back over to the Cadian here, and we will see how this battle ends up, how many models get killed. So I will do the Cadian movement, show you guys what they do as per usual, shoot, and then hand to hand. So I'll be right back in a sec to show you guys that. Alright, so I'm going to cover the move on both sides here. I think this battle is getting pretty long. I haven't edited yet, but I almost burnt through a whole battery, so hoping it's not too long, and I can maybe cut some stuff back. But it's great. This is, 3,000 points of Orks, 3,500 points of Orks versus 2,000 points of Cadian with support. So the oil rig owner, foreman, everybody there moved back to try to get some range there between them and the Knobs and the Defcoptas. Sergeant Dakota is holding up here with his plasma gunner, grenade launcher, and Primaris Psyker. The Khazarkin that remaining from the Tigers jumped off the roof, so I'm not sure if the Beastnaga boys are going to be able to get into hand-to-hand combat with them. If they cannot, then this game is pretty much done, but we'll see how that goes. And also, if anything happens over here, that might change things. Rogaldorn backed up a bit too. It's still got the truck in its sights. The Commissar, Sergeant, and Ogren are still here. The Space Marines peeled off the wall to come back and hold off Boss Snickrot with the 2 Cadian Khazarkin. So those Khazarkin are feeling pretty cool. They got 4, superhuman Space Marines helping them out in hand-to-hand combat to hopefully take down Boss Snickrot. That's going to be a really good fight. Definitely roll for that. Leontis has come over to the wall over here, and he's given his order to the Cadian section here that remains of take aim, and he's going to try to hold off these knobs as long as he can. He does only have 1 wound, so I hope we don't lose him this fight, but we might. The Cadian command squad that was there has hunkered down again inside the Chimera. They're in there, and they're going to be able to use those lasgun arrays as well as the multi-laser to hopefully kill a few of these orcs. The armored sentinels move back as well. The Warboss Omega armor still close, might be able to jump into hand-to-hand. And over here, the Khazarkan gargoyles jumped off the Seacan because I still have that Melta mine, which I want to deliver to the Ruckatruck Squig Buggy to hopefully finish it off and get a unit kill for them. Bombast field guns, they haven't moved all game, so that might be, if everything else gets killed here by the Cadian, they might still be going, which means that it's a Cadian victory. Rogaldorn here stayed. It can't really move anywhere, so it's still going to try to take out Gazgul. And then we're back over on this side. So I'm going to move to the Cadian shoot, do it on both sides. There's not as many models now, so I'm going to do the whole shoot phase, and I'll come back and recap what's happened as best I can, because there's still enough shoots that I might forget a few that happened. So I'll be right back and show you guys that. Wow, that is the end of the Cadian shoot phase. Very, very good phase for them. On this side, not as much happened, so I'll just recap that really quick. But Gazgul was killed. That was probably the biggest loss to the Orks. The Rogaldorn fired everything it had into Gazgul. He was brought back once by the Pain Boy, and then he had 1 wound left. The final pulverizer cannon, or not the pulverizer cannons, the double battle cannons fired into him, and that was the end of Gazgul. So that's the end of the Warlord. The Bombast field guns, nothing happened, as per usual, kind of. Armored Sentinels, nothing happened. Over here was really good. So the command squad inside the Chimera with the Chimera weapon systems were able to cut the commandos down to 1 model left, so they have the knob remaining. Lord Solar Leontis with his leadership, take aim, command, really boosted the 2 last Cadian over here with the Preacher, and they brought the knob squad that used to be pretty much at full strength down to 1 knob remaining with 2 wounds. So absolutely incredible. Leontis is bleeding all over the place. You might have some like oil fluids coming out because I don't think the guy's fully human anymore, but that's another story. But incredible last stand here by the Cadian for their final turn. Over here, the Defcopta was actually taken out. So one here on the right had 1 wound left. It was taken out by good old Sergeant Dakota with his drum-fed autogun, one of my favorite little weapons there. Terrible strength, but somehow it made it through. I got a 6 and was able to explode that Defcopta. The oil crew here fired with everything they had, their little pop guns and stub guns and everything, and nothing happened here. So now it is going to be over to the dice tray. I'm going to be rolling for this combat that's going on in the center of the facility. It is Boss Snickrot versus all of the remaining Raven Guard and 2 Khazarkan Cadian. The allies have the initiative, so they will be rolling first, and if Snickrot survives those attacks, he will be fighting back, and there may be some models lost here. So over to the dice tray to do that, and we will check it out. All right, so here we are. This is the final phase for the Cadian allied force during this battle. It is wave 4. I'm going to be starting with the Eliminator squad because if they do kind of soften Boss Snickrot up a bit, I want the Khazarkan to finish him off so they can get some points for that towards the Crusade. So the Eliminator squad has close combat weapons. They are 3 attacks apiece, hitting on 3+. So I'm not gonna lie, this game with the Eliminators hasn't been great. So they weren't able to make a lot of shots. Like, you guys didn't see the rolls in the tray, but for superhuman snipers, not great. We'll see how they do in my Last Stand series because I still have to put them in there. The Eliminators will definitely be there, and maybe they'll do better against Tyranid. But so far against the Orks, I guess that toughness of 5 has been tough for them to penetrate. So all of these are through. It's going to be wounding on 5s. It's strength 4 versus toughness 5 from Boss Snickrot. So these are going to be wounding on 5s. All right, that's quite a few through. That's good. They are 1 damage apiece, but let's see. So Snickrot has a 5+ regular save and 5+ invulnerable, so this has to be 5s for him. So he saved 1, and he has taken 3 wounds, so he is down to 3 wounds remaining. We're going to move over to the Librarian here in a second. I'll roll. I'm just going to make sure that I'm tracking that with Snickrot. I'm going to flip his token over to 3 wounds. The biggest thing here too is Snickrot's really good in hand-to-hand combat with Mork's teeth, as we saw when he took on Leontis. So we want to make sure that he is not able to fight back. So this is the Librarian. This may finish Snickrot off, which means that my Kazarkin won't get any experience, but at least he will be off the board so he can't fight back. So this is a force weapon. It is 4 attacks hitting on 3+. So 2 fell off. It is strength 6 versus toughness 5, so wounding on 3s. 1 is through for the wound. It is a -1 to AP, so that has knocked Snickrot at his 5+. He didn't make the save. It is D3 damage. So if it's a 6 here, that means Snickrot's dead. 5 or 6. It's a 1. So he's lost 1 additional wound. I'm going to flip that token over. He has 2 wounds left, and it's going to be up to the Kazarkin to kill him. If not, he is going to fight back, and he is going to be pissed. Okay, so my Kazarkin Sergeant has a power sword, so power weapon, 3 attacks hitting on 4+. All are through. Fantastic Sergeant. That is Sergeant Sharkgar of Sharkgar's own. So this is strength 4 against toughness 5, 5s to wound. Nothing went through. Shit. That's not good. Okay, last but not least, we do have the close combat weapon of the last remaining Kazarkin Sharkgar's own. It is hitting on 4+. Both are through. It is strength 3 versus toughness 5, so we need 5s to wound. Come on, 5s. And nothing. So that means Snickrot's going to be able to fight back with Mork's teeth. I am going to have those wounds allocated to the Space Marines to make sure that the battle scars don't affect my Kazarkin, but if Snickrot's still alive, it goes back to the Orks over here, so he's probably going to jump right back into it to scrap and kill whoever he wants. So this is Mork's teeth, 6 attacks, hitting on 2+. 1 fell off. It is strength 6 versus toughness 4, so 3s to wound. 1 fell off there. That's still going to be a lot of wounds. It is -1 to AP, so our eliminators are going to have a 4+ save. Actually, that's twin linked as well, so I can reroll that wound. And he got it. So that's actually 5 attacks that are through that it wounded. And this is going to be 4+ saves by the eliminators here. So they saved 3, not too bad. 2, 4 though. It's 2 damage per, so that is 2 dead eliminators from Snickrot's rebuttal, and that is the end of the Cadian turn for this battle. Of wave 4, it goes back over to the Orks for their final turn. So this is going to get interesting. I'm going to move the Orks, and we will see what they're doing in their final movement, final shoot, and final hand-to-hand. Okay, starting over here, and I'm going to sum up what I've done here with the Orks. So there's almost every single unit on the table that can be, I don't want to say wiped out, but at least attacked this turn via shoot or via hand-to-hand. So the Bubble Chukka here is going to be firing into the 2 field ordnance batteries, my bombast field guns. The Rogaldorn has pretty much every single Ork on this side trying to take it out. So we still have the Kill Can, we have the Tank Bustas, which can do a lot of damage. We have a Mega Knob, Burna, and then 2 Knobs. Over here, we have the Warboss and Mega Armor back in combat with the Sentinels, and the Lone Commando Knob is also in there. This is not looking good for my Kazarkin Gargoyles. They actually had a pretty good game this time, but they are now in hand-to-hand combat with the Death Dread. I think that they're probably going to be getting another Battle Scar, but maybe by some chance they might be okay. You guys saw that thing snap like a Hellhound in half, so we'll see how that goes. The Ork boys that were up on the Seacan have all jumped into combat with the Chimera. Again, it's a tank, but there's some pretty powerful weapons in there. There's like the Power Claw, the Power Snappa, and Choppas that can probably do it up. The Battle Wagon here has a lot of weapon systems that have pretty high strength. That Ballistic 5+ might affect things, but they're going to be firing into Leontis. The Knob over here is going to be firing into the Preacher and Cadian there. Over here, it looks like the Defcoptas are going to be firing into the remaining oil rig workers that are here. So the oil rig owner and his foreman and bodyguards and everything. On this side, we have boss Wartsnaga there with the weird boy, and it's going to be kind of like a psychic battle here. So the psychic, she's already done her turn, the Primaris, but the weird boy is there. He's also psychic, and he's going to be doing some attacks trying to kill those remaining Cadian. Up here, the Beastnaga boys have gotten on top of the roof. They had enough range to do that, and they're going to be shooting down at the remaining tigers. So the tigers probably won't survive unless I get a lot of really poor rolls. That is still a 5+ for the Beastnaga boys with the ballistic skill, so we'll see. The Rogaldorn looks like it's going to be okay. So this thing still has 15 wounds. There's nothing really left on the table that can take it out. So I think the Cadian, because of that, are probably going to win this. The lone knob here with the two boys have gone into the remaining Cadian here with the Commissar. Boss Snickrot has jumped right into combat. He wants to take out the strongest models on the board. This is another indicator that might be this is going to be going the allied way, because those two Cadian from Sharkar's own, the Khazarkin, are probably going to survive the battle unless I get some crazy rolls and some units that were going to shoot other units have killed units that they were aiming at initially, and then they can turn their firepower on that. So I'm still going to definitely roll this turn through. We're going to do the shoot right now for the Orks, and then the hand-to-hand combat, and we're going to add up all the tallies, whether it's battle scars or experience for my Cadian if they're able to counterattack. But this is it. This is the final turn of the game, wave 4, and it is the Orks. Been one hell of a battle, and it is not over yet. All right, that is the end of the Orc shoot. So their turn 1 is only left to hand-to-hand combat now. The Cadian have won. I'm still going to roll everything off because that combat is still happening before the Orcs leave the facility. Pretty good shoot phase by the Orcs, considering that you usually have to roll 5+ for them. So just to recap here a bit, the entire oil rig admin staff was finished off except for one of the bounty hunters, except for the owner himself, which is the rogue trader model, and the other bodyguard / foreman model, who's down to 1 wound, and that was because of the Def Coptas. Over here, the Beastnaga boys fired down and killed 2 of the Khazarkin tigers. Over here, the malign wardings helped out these Cadian, or there would have been a lot more dead, because I had the 4+ feel no pain, because an Ed Banger came in from the weird boy. So Dakota has survived another battle. No battle scars yet for this guy. He's untouchable. Him and his plasma gunner survived. Over here, there was a few of the mechanical support staff for the tanks. So, the tankers were killed. The guys with the fuel jerry cans by the knobs. Or by the knob and the boys. Sadly, over here we lost our Cadian warlord, so Leontis was finally finished off. He came back in after being in the hospital. He fought a bunch of commandos. He fought Boss Snickrot. He came back, killed a ton of knobs, and then he was killed by the battle wagon. So this thing has tons and tons of firepower on it, and Leontis with 1 wound left just didn't have enough, so he was killed. And then the knob over here fired into the Cadian. Nothing happened there. So there is still the hand-to-hand combat. We're going to see what happens to the Chimera, and then also to the Armored Sentinels and our Khazarkin Gargoyles. Inside that Chimera too is the command squad, who's actually probably... No, the Castellan's still alive, so he's 2IC of this force. He's down here. We're going to see what happens there. And then over on this side, there was actually a lot of shots put onto the Rogaldorn, and it lost 2 wounds. So it went from 17 down to 15, and that was from the tank Bustas and also actually from the Grot Zuka that is on the kill cannon. The Ordnance Field Battery is also dropped down to 3 wounds here for the one closest to the camera, and that was because of the Bubble Chukka. It got a 2. So it's actually not the strongest, but it gets tons and tons of shots. I got 11 shots in, and the strength is still 6 compared to the toughness of 6 of the bombast field gun, so it lost 3 wounds. But I am going to get into the hand-to-hand here. So we have Boss Snickrot fighting the remaining Raven Guard. That's going to be one hell of a scrap, and he has the initiative there. And then everything else that's over here going on, the Orcs also have the initiative. So I'm going to roll that probably on camera for some of them. And then we will come back and show you guys the finish of this battle. But as of right now, the Cadian have won. Okay, so finishing up this battle here, we're in the hand-to-hand combat. I've already rolled for the Chimera as well as the Armored Sentinels. I'll show you guys what happened there in just a sec. The Armored Sentinel, again, actually did pretty well, but we'll get to that in a sec. So this is the Death Dread with its Dread Claws fighting 4 Khazarkin. The multiple, like, tons of attacks have come in as well because the Wah is still active. So I'm going to be rolling here. It is a 3+ to hit. There we go. Remove those guys. It is strength 12 versus toughness 3, so this is 2s. And if it is 2s, you know, it's supposed to be, I don't usually use that rule, but it's supposed to be like automatic wounds or whatever. But anyways, so it is a -2 to AP, bringing our Khazarkin up to a 6+ save. And it is 3 damage per. So there is only 1 save made. So there is 3, 6, 9, 12 damage. The Khazarkin gargoyles have been killed. And sadly, that means they're going to get another battle scar. They tried to hold off there for a bit, tried to use the Meltamine, but they were slain. Last up is going to be Boss Snickrot versus the Raven Guard Librarian and Eliminator. And I'm going to get that on camera in just a sec. Okay, here we go. The final turn. This is Boss Snickrot with the initiative fighting against the Librarian. Mork's Teeth has an additional attack here too because of the Wog. So we have 7 attacks. These are hitting on 2+. All of them have hit. This is also going to be against the Eliminator because they're a unit. So let's see how this goes. It is strength 6 versus toughness 4. So wounding on 3s. And this is twin linked. So I get to roll these 2 that missed. And another one has come through from that, so not looking good for the Space Marines. Let's see what happens here. It's a -1 to AP, so this is going to be 4+ saves. And they saved a few actually, but let's see if it's enough. So there's 2 damage per, so 2. That was a 3, 2, 4, 6. And that's exactly how many wounds the Space Marines had left. So the Space Marines have been killed by Boss Snickrot during the Orks' final turn of Wave 4. All right, so that is the end of another Cadian Crusade narrative battle. This one, not a stalemate because the Orks had certain victory indicators that they needed to meet. They did not meet those. This is a Cadian victory, but there are still tons of models on both sides. This could have kept going for another several turns. There is Boss Snickrot. He is there, and all that remains from that combat that just occurred. So the Librarian and the final Eliminator were killed. These 2 would be in a lot of trouble right now if the battle wasn't over. That is all that remains of the Orks. Cadians did a great job dwindling down a 3,500 point Ork army here. So I'll just show you guys the casualties on this side. So this is how many Orks were killed. There are some models in the back that aren't Orks, but the 2 trucks, we had Gazkul himself, we had tons of Burnas, Knobs, Defcoptas, we had Killcans, we had Boys, we had Ludas, we had Commandos, we had Trucks, we had Death Dreads, we had all the Squighog Boys, we had the Bikers, we had tons of stuff. So Cadian did super well. I'm going to go over to the Cadian casualties now just to show you that. So they did lose some pretty big pieces. We had Leonidas go down there at the end, or sorry, Leontis. Both Hellhounds have been lost, so there's actually been quite a few battle scars. I am giving my Marked for Greatness to my Rogel Dorn Double Impact. This thing was a great tank throughout the whole battle. Not that the other one wasn't, but this thing killed Gazkul, it killed trucks, it killed battle wagons, it killed a whole bunch of stuff. So it's definitely my all-star for this fight. I'm going to be giving it the extra experience. And I'm also going to be checking out the new rules from the Codex Imperial Guard, Codex Astra Militarum, to see what kind of requisitions I can give for the models that have gained enough experience to move on to the next blooded rank. So we'll see how that's going. And then also requisition points are going to come in. So I'm going to get a requisition point at the end of the battle. So I'm going to see what I'll use that for. Might switch out one of the 2 Armored Sentinels to bring in a new unit. So that does cost a requisition point. I'm maybe thinking a Cadian heavy weapons squad, but I'll have to check the points and see if that works out. I could also use it to remove battle scars off of any units. This battle, however, wasn't too bad for battle scars, so a lot of the Cadians weren't scarred because of the hospital. Not as much experience though, because the Space Marines did kill a lot of enemy models, so that kind of went to them, but there were still enough kills from some of the units, so there might be some stuff there that I can do as well with the requisition points. But thank you guys again so much for watching. It was great to get back into the groove with my crusade. It's been a while since I've done it. The next battle for the Cadian is going to be against a Chaos Undivided army. I'm still kind of ironing out what that's going to look like, but you will see Abaddon the Despoiler leading that one. There's going to be a mix of a whole bunch of different Chaos Space Marine chapters, and yeah, that one's going to be a really good fight too, and it's going to be more of the opposite side of this. So the Cadian are going to have to go down and kill every single model to be able to win that one. So it's going to be kind of a flip, a 180 of what we just did here. But yeah, thank you guys again so much. Finnigan 40K. Really happy to bring you these, and I'm hoping it's not too long, and if it is, it was fun. So that's great. Anyways, take care, and we will see you guys soon. Bye-bye for now.